bunch of debt. She's like, neighbors one day, 2 or 3 neighbors the next day, 2 or 3 the next thing you know all the gossip in the neighborhood. You know everybody, right?
Wow.
So I ended up doing like 3 transactions in that neighborhood just because I was sitting on an open house, because I just sit there for so long. And if the house took a while, to sell, I got more.
Did you do 8 hours or 6 hours? What?
I usually start at around 10, 9:30 or 10, I think, and then I would go. I would take a large break in the middle. I bought one of those signs that says, "I'll be back when," you know those little clock things that you can hang up that says, "I'll be back here," right? And I'd put that for lunch, but I would take a long lunch. I would go like 2 hours out and sit somewhere and chill. And then I would try to get past 5. I try to go to like 6, because 6:30, because that's when you get.
Right. Smile.
So
Sorry.
on the weekdays, I pushed it later. On the weekends, I would do it normal, right? Weekends, I would do it shorter. I would do like 10 to 2, but on the weekdays, I would do it like, I try to shift it later in the day till.
Cool.
Not that you don't have to be that extreme this time, but at the time I was a new agent. I had 100 people in my database, and I went through them like 3 times, right? So the good part is I did 7 deals out of those 100 during that time, and then I had to go find more.
Wow.
I hustled, man. I was hustling. Man.
With the open door agreement we have, it'd be easy to get an all-day open house.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Done.
How's this? If I were a new agent now, all I did was I pick one house I really like that's close to my house so I can do it. I prefer one that's easily in interest to a neighborhood, that I can put signs out easy. It's
Yeah,
easy to
I don't like
a lot of people.
The
deep, you don't want deep in the neighborhood, so people always drive. Preferably, it's on one of the neighborhood interest streets you want. And I would do that so that you get all the neighbors who see you, right? Because as you drive in, so that's what you want. You don't want it deep. You want it on the street. And then I would just do that incessantly until it's sold.
Nice.
And actually, at the time, I did do it with these REO agents, and they loved me because I always would give me the worst house that's hardest to sell. And I would 50% of the time I represent the buyer on it, because I'm the guy they're walking on with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, yeah. Most of the time it's cash, because I was doing like mega fixes. The appliances gone, pipes ripped out of the wall, right?
Yeah.
So you don't even have that this time. But I would take one house, pick a neighborhood that you like the price point and want to work.
There it is.
Think about it. Everyone saw your signs every single day they drove in and out of that neighborhood. Every freaking day.
I've been really hammering either south or north of Thomas, and I normally have about 400 or 500 flyers dropped.
Yeah.
And what was cool was the other day, this morning, I was knocking, and I seen my flyers from an open house several weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, that's from when I had my kids drop in this area. I forgot I even had them drop in that area.
Yeah.
Just doing another open house in the same
That's
area.
what you want to just. Actually, I didn't flyer drop.
I didn't
flyer drop my neighborhood, but I should have. If I was gonna go back and do it, that's what I would do. I'd flyer drop that neighborhood just so that they knew.
Absolutely.
Just scoot Michael Soares' flyers to the side behind the bush, and then put yours.
I'm gonna tell you this. I know of at least 5 instances I've done listing appointments in Natomas where the clients that I got the listing, they're taking the notes from our listing appointment on a Michael Soares pad.
That's so funny.
So just because he has his name in there doesn't mean he's gonna get the
exactly.
listing. So.
I've probably seen 5 of his flyers today, just sitting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
One of them was like.
If you do actual walking, you will see a lot.
Yeah.
But that's a testament to his business, right?
Yeah.
Like he's so consistent, and that's why people.
I had a lender I was working with way back when, and we were door knocking. He's like, "I'll go with you," and we co-branded, right? We're door knocking, and then at the end, the first day we did it, I remember he comes back. We're in the Thomas somewhere, and he comes back. And he's like, "John, look, I took all these other flyers, and it was all of Michael Soares' flyers."
He took them all?
He took them all. I'm like, okay, next time we're not going to do that. That was funny. Is Monty?
I think so.
Monty coming in?
Is Monty coming in?
No, he asked if you could plug him, please.
Oh, okay.
He
Absolutely.
actually just, his daughter gave birth day before yesterday to their newest addition, so he's going to help with that. That's how.
I'm happy to plug. I know Monty well. So. everybody?
Yeah, so if you have a
Because
hand.
they're making noise. Tell Vince to stop making noise. Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to our Shift 2.0. It's going to be similar because the message doesn't change that much, but we have more exercises and we have a little bit tweaking of our message and what we want to do. We're going to be a little more hands-on, which I'm very excited about actually. First of all, you need to introduce yourselves.
Let's like him first.
Oh yes. Okay. So at Spotlight Vendors, Monty, one of our lenders, he actually works right up. I have known Monty since I've been in real estate, so 15 years. I have done many loans with him. I can tell you his operation is top notch. I have never had an issue with loan. And actually, we often, if we have a trouble with a lender on a loan that they are in trouble doing, I have taken it to him and he has closed it more times than not. So, and he has a wide variety of programs. Very upstanding, ethical guy, very responsive. I highly recommend that if you are looking for a lender or looking for someone a new lender relationship, he is a great person to be a partnership in. And he has brought our life, so thank you to Monty.
Yeah, he brought Chick-fil-A. I mean,
I know.
he must be a good lender.
I know. When I saw chicken, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
That's a good meal.
All the way from Arden or I-5 or.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You have to go far for it. Yeah. If you want to get in touch with him, here's the thing. But honestly, he's one of our Spotlight vendors. We own the hub. You can ask Sam as well. She'll have his contact information as well. And obviously, you see him in our trainings as well. So
We'll let people take pictures of the QR code if you want. Okay.
too far. There you go. Okay, so we're going to talk shift. Amy, now why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Amy Tremaine. I am the team leader for Keller Williams Fair Oaks. I'm also the owner of Main Street Coaching and Main Street Properties. I've been in business since 2014. Why would they let me talk about a shift? Well, I went through the pandemic shift when our entire businesses were shut down, and my entire business plan was open houses. And then they took them away from me. And I had to shift. I like to call it pivot. I had to pivot really quickly in order to keep my business alive. I'm mostly referral only, but open houses was my bag. So I had to change my game up, and I'm happy to say I survived. I'm still here.
Most of you know me. Or not. Just so you guys know, maybe you don't know, I started in 2008. Some of you are old enough to remember. Trust me, I do trainings now, and I'm like, people are like, Great Recession? Trust me, it's weird. I'm like, you're too young. They're like, my parents went through. I started in July 1, 2008, and for those of you who have good memories around that, I was telling Luke that I had a client who had a 780 FICO and 200,000 in the bank, and the bank was not a problem. Like, it was just carnage. It was weird. I realized I had to do 50 to 1 to get a lead and 100 contacts to get an appointment at that time. So you can say I hustled a lot, right? And but I got in July 1, 08, and I did 7 deals in my first 6 months, and after 12 months, I did 17 deals in that market. The rest is history from there. I did specialize a lot in investors. I found out it's really hard to get people approved. Not that I didn't have buyers that are approved, but I found out people with cash could buy homes a lot easier than trying to get them approved for a loan. And Sacramento was really cheap compared to the Bay Area and our coastal cities. And so I started doing a lot of marketing to potential investors in coastal areas in Sacramento. And I got a lot of people in Silicon Valley, Orange County, San Diego, here in Sacramento as well, to invest with me here in Sacramento. I got a lot of people doing and I did short sales. I didn't like short sales. I've done short sales. I did REOs, bank-owned homes, and I've also done HUD homes, government business. So I've had a lot of experience with shifting, and so to calm your nerves a little bit, this is like, yeah, this is fun. Don't let the fear and the news and stuff get to you, and we'll talk about that. This is a fairly normal market. You just may have experienced our market going at 120 miles an hour. And now we're ratcheting down to 80. And maybe we'll get to 60, but we're still moving forward at a pretty good clip, right? So And we're gonna talk. Whew.
Well, let's go back real quick. So are you guys hearing this or feeling this sentiment? All my buyers are backing out due to high interest rates, right? All the buyers that you, is anybody feeling that?
Yeah,
No one?
No one?
I'm feeling it.
You guys not doing business.
If you're not feeling it, you don't have buyers, right?
And then what about your sellers? Do you have any sellers that have decided not to list? Maybe because, maybe because they don't know where they're gonna go next, right?
Or they're saying like, I have to sell less than I want, or those sort of things. So,
Right, so we're gonna talk about some principles now that are gonna help you deal with those sellers, deal with the buyers, overcome those objections, but also other activities that you can implement in your business to help you be relying on one single buyer or one single seller in order for your income, right?
yeah, and I highly recommend what you just said. The trick in this market is to have multiple buyers and multiple sellers. What happens is you will have more fall, right? And so, and some of you who's been around a little while, you know the habit of getting stuck on one client and nothing goes through, and then you're like, scrambling, right? It is ultimately the time period now to you got to be super diligent about lead generation. You got to be filling the pipeline with as many people as you can. And I'm not just saying this, literally my real estate team, we have oriented everything toward lead generation, even my staff, even my you guys know Megan and Taylor on my staff, they are required to generate 2 referrals a month on my team, literally. And they're from talking to our database or talking to our current clients in escrow. They are required to have those conversations as well. So we have oriented everything to creating more leads. So I want you to understand that you should be super hungry because you're going to get a lot of this. And what you're going to have to do is find them motivated. We'll talk about that. Find them motivated.
Yeah.
What's happening with the economy?
I heard somebody say that's the reason now. A lot of people don't want to sell because they've got a 2 or 3% fixed rate mortgage. If they sell a house, they buy one somewhere else. They may have trouble qualifying for the 5 or 6.
That sounds to me like they don't have a need to sell.
Yeah, they don't want to sell.
And the purpose of lead generation is to find those that need to buy and sell real estate, not those that might want to do it if the time is right. So the more quantity of leads that you have, the more quantity of a database that you have, the more apt you are to find those that have a need. But 6% of your database is going to have a real estate in the next 12 months. It's a simple math problem. 6% is going to need to buy and sell real estate in the next 12 months. So if you want a certain amount of deals, then you just have to do a simple math problem. You have to get to a certain number in your database in order to equate to a certain amount of deals. Does that make sense?
And you're exactly right. We're going to learn some scripts today on how to talk to these people and how to qualify to try to make them motivated, right? Oftentimes you'll do this script and it's a good script, but still they're too scared. They're not going to move forward. And even after your talk with them about the economy and the script, that's okay. That's what you want to know though. You don't want to lose a lead that if you talk to them and they were motivated, actually, they were just a little scared and convince them otherwise, you get them. Because if you didn't do that script and my team does, we get the client, you don't. Does it make sense? So what we're trying to do is get that script. People will still say no afterwards because if people have a base fear, they have a base fear, right? So you can't move people forward when they're scared. You can alleviate fear with knowledge, but sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes not. So oftentimes I would just use that as a qualification. I talk to someone, they're fearful, I do the script. They're like, well, no, I need to see a little better than this before I move forward. I was too scared. Perfect. They're on my quarterly call plan. I know they're not a motivated lead right now. I'm going to go find another motivated lead, right? Instead of trying to harper that person, don't try to harp the person into non-fear. It's a really hard lift. If someone is base fearful, it's really hard lift to get them out of that, especially if you're a stranger for that matter.
And it's not only that, there's a book called Spin Selling that talks about the different types of purchases you make. And there's purchases like a candy bar that is an impulse purchase, and it's an impulse purchase because the cost of the candy bar is very low. So it's easy for people to impulsively make that purchase. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, lots of paperwork,
Lots of pain,
lots of emotions, 30 to 60 days of change. You cannot convince anyone to do that. It has to be, there has to be a need in them in order to do it. So we're not going to give you any scripts that will help you convince anyone to do anything. No script will let you do that. What it will do is it'll help you motivate the motivated, help re-motivate the motivated, and it will also help you line them up for future business. See, I'm not in this business for the next 6 months. I'm in this business for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about when they buy a house. I'm worried about if they buy one for me.
And that's exactly right. You need a long-term vision in this market. I still have a long-term vision because I grew up in that market, right? But I joked I was door knocking recession. This old guy wouldn't even answer that. He yelled at me through the door. Like, I actually had one of those security screens you couldn't see, right? He yells at me. He's like, I was like, hey, I'm just doing an open house down the road. I'm selling a house. He's like, I'm not selling my house. I was like, I'm not trying to say hi. I was like, but if you were going to move, when would you move? He's like, you hear me? I'm like 82 years old. I ain't moving. I go, if you could move anywhere you wanted, where would you move? He's like, I'm here. That's where I want to be. Like, I'm going to die in this house. So I am not selling, so, you're wasting your time. Literally, he said, wasting. I said, no, I'm not wasting my time, sir. I want to convince you that when you die in your will, you name me to your kids that I have to sell your home. That's why I was like, good luck. I said, sir, well, would I have to do that? He's like, well, you'd have to be my friend, good friend. I said, so if I called you every week, would that be would be good friends? He's 82, he's lonely, right? He's like, his wife found his wife passed away, so he's just sitting there. So that guy I've known for a long time. So. But anyways, that's
So you call him every week?
when I was there, I was calling. So when I told you I was sitting in the open house all day on my BlackBerry. Every week, I call them up because I didn't have anyone to call. So call them up, right? So if you have time, if you're a new agent, at some point, literally, I called everyone in my phone. I wasn't afraid. I called everyone on my phone. But you're going to run out of, if you actually do the work, you're going to run out of people. And you're going to run out of people quick if you actually do the work.
Right.
And at some point, you're going to get desperate about finding new people to talk to.
I'm still here.
So, does everyone identify with these issues?
Yes.
Yes. Is that what your person is feeling? Are you personally feeling these things?
Yes.
Do you have fear around these, or strain, or stress around these? Frustration?
That's like asking if you're breathing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Imagine you're going into this with already real estate knowledge from being a real estate agent. Imagine how homeowners are feeling. Right? That's why you're getting responses. I just want to wait, right? So people will, when they're scared and unknown, they will shut down. Right? So that's why we're going to tell you that part of the script is saying some people shut down because they're a lack of knowledge. Sometimes you can impart knowledge and that will get motivation. So that's what you want to test, right? So all right. So we talked about this, how you're feeling about finances. So one of the things I want you to note is how they feel. If you commiserate with them, you're only reinforcing their feelings. If you come onto that call and you're like, yeah, man, I spent $120 to fill my gas tank, that sucked.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna reinforce their negative feelings about the economy. So just know this being successful in real estate is a lot about mindset in this. You have to go positive. That's why we open every meeting with gratitude. Every morning I write down my gratitude in the morning because I try to maintain positivity.
Absolutely. I really like to touch on that as well. That's across the board with your clients. Their emotions are not your emotions. You do not have to commiserate or agree with their emotions. You can have empathy for them. You can sympathize with them, but you don't have to join them in that space, right? And come with solutions. If they're scared and you're scared, how are you going to help them, right? So if you come with solutions and positivity, and a little analogy, when my children were little and they would fall down, I would laugh and clap my hands. And I would say, that's so funny. That's so funny. You're okay. Stand up. And I have seen others that rush to the child, scared. If mom is scared, how do they feel?
Yeah.
Worse,
Worse.
right? So you're the expert. You're the economist of choice, right? You're the real estate expert. So if you're scared, you're going to reinforce that fear even deeper. So be the positive force. Be the educator.
As you said, the economist of choice. That's
Yes.
very important in this market.
Yeah.
New number one, as we just talked about in the shift, you must become the economist of choice for your clients. That means you must study the market consistently, share that information with your clients in a calming way.
You're okay. Everything's okay.
Yeah, you need to be the steadiness in this market. And I just want you to know that. Trust me, this is the best way. Your clients going on Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com and all those things and shopping everywhere and talking to other agents. The agent that does this is why I like this market, because you can grab market share and you can grab mind share. You can literally, if you're the one doing this and no one else is, because here's what Zillow and Realtor.com saying, market's down 11%, market's crashing, because they get eyeballs by using fear, right? If you get market mind share by using caring and information to be the economist of choice, then you will get that mind share. That means they will call you on something, right? And that's why I tell people some of my best clients that still refer today are people I've had during the recession, because I helped them achieve something during the recession. I have their mind share. I don't even have to reach out to them. They will call me and says, John, they will call me and say, like, my gutter's leaking. What do I do? Like, literally, I'm their mind share on real estate, right? Everything real estate. You need to be the economist of choice, right? If you want to occupy their mind where you're the housing expert. And the good part is the mind is more open when things are unstable. You can take that and become that person. What is a shift? Shift is a normal real estate moving back and forth like a pendulum between the seller's market and the buyer's market, just like the pendulum swinging back. This is normal. Maybe you haven't experienced it before, but this is normal. I'm going to say, even during the Great Recession, one of the biggest recessions we've ever had as a nation, and people are like, John, how did you survive in 2008, 2009? Would it be shocking to say that there was less transactions? But between 2008 and 2009, 2008, 60% of all transactions from the peak. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, that was a bubble market from the peak down to the middle. 60% of the transactions still happened next year. 2009, 70% of transactions happened off that peak. What happened was everyone got scared, and so I got my unfair share. That means houses were still selling. And what does that tell you? People, the motivated people that are going to sell or buy are people that have to sell or buy. And there's events that people will talk about that in their life that motivate people to sell no matter what. Those are the people you need to identify. Okay. I need you to understand inflation. What is inflation?
Too much.
Oh, well, you're a tax guy. Let's say so much inflation.
Okay, inflation just means that you have too much money chasing too little product and too little activity. Are you printing? You're printing it.
That's what causes inflation. Yeah, inflation means your buying power goes down. Right. That's why people joke. Oh, gas used to be 25 cents a gallon, and now it's 4 or something, or milk or whatever. A cheeseburger.
Houses used to be $55,000.
Right. That means your money doesn't go as far as it used to. It's still $1, but it just can't buy as much as it used to.
The real and nominal value.
Yeah, the real value of it is down, right? And that's why when it's hyperinflation, like we're seeing great inflation, that causes fears because it creates instability in housing in your lives because you feel the prices go up, right? Because if I'm a vendor and I'm selling milk, I got to anticipate the market, right? Because I know my costs are going up. I know that by the time it actually gets to the market, it may, I may be losing money daily. It's sitting on my shelves or sitting on my thing because the value is going up. And if I agree to a price, I'm losing money, right? So they're naturally going to build in the pricing. Same thing with lenders, okay? Remember, lenders get their money in the future. If they gave your client a 30-year loan right now and they take payments for the next 30 years, what if we have 10% inflation for the next 10 years? They're in a fixed rate.
They're gone.
That means the money they're getting back, they gave you buying power today, but every payment they go over the next years is less and less valuable because of inflation. Does that make sense? So the lenders are pushing up rates because they have to hedge against inflation. They have to say like, man, I'm going to give you a bunch of money up front, but I have to get my money's value worth, not just cash dollars, but I got to get my value of that buying power back.
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible, so they upped the rate. And so when I wanna have you understand this. The Fed, you read it, the Fed says, oh, we're raising rates, right? And this is where you can be an economist of choice for your clients right away. The Fed does not control mortgage rates. Even though they say we're raising rates, they're not raising the rates of the mortgages. What they're raising the rates are is what the banks pay the Fed to borrow money from the Fed. Where the Fed prints the money, or they just make the money. Yeah, the banks essentially take money, borrow money from the Fed, and then loan it to you guys. So they make a profit. They'll say, I'll get a 2% from the Fed, and I'll get 4% from the client, and I make 2. So if the Fed increases the cost that the banks have to borrow, it makes the banks push the rates up. Makes sense? Because they got to compensate for that. Also, the Fed increased their rates to the banks this last round. Actually, the article, but rates went down a quarter point. Actually, went down a half point. They went from 5.5 to about 5 on average. 5. Why? The Fed raised rates. Rates went down. This is where you can explain to your clients, especially the buyers that are getting really queasy about things. Stock market investors, they don't like inflation either, right? If you're a big money guy or a big company, you have cash in the bank, you're losing money every single day, right? Your value of your money is going down. So what happens? When the Fed raises rates, the economy likes it. They like it because they're saying the Fed's serious about killing inflation, right? And so so lenders who have a bunch of money, they're more optimistic about lending in the future because they know the Fed is serious about getting this under control, and so they can have more certainty about lending in the future. Make sense? So rates went down because the Fed raising rate, and the Fed wants to raise rates because they want to make those people with the money feel comfortable about the economy and lending to make sure it keeps going. Make sense?
Yes.
So it's a little bit hard to understand because it's concept of inflation. But the better you can understand it, the better you can explain to people, because a lot of times they say, the Fed just raised rates 7.5%. And I can say, and the mortgage rates went down 0.5%. And they're like, what? And then you have a learning moment. That moment you can explain that and do that well is where you can be the economist of choice. And that's understanding the economy, right? So that was a lot.
That was good.
Yeah.
Well done.
How is the real estate affected? We're going to talk about that. Real estate, do you have trends?
I have trends.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Where's the best place to keep up to date on the interest changes by the federal government and or mortgage companies? So that's like, is there a website or a Facebook page to follow? We can get up to date, quick info.
If I want just a snapshot of where interest rates are, I usually just use a simple website like bankrate.com. Yours posted on there, and I can see where rates are kind of floating.
Say again?
Bankrate.com. Honestly, you can find rates. You can Google current mortgage rates, and it'll just put up a spreadsheet there. I do look at mortgage rates over time. So I try to Google like mortgage rates in 2022, and then it'll put up a chart for you. And if we Google one now, you'll actually see it in the last 2 weeks dip down, right? And the reason, and you can see it dip down every time the Fed increases their rates because it's making lenders feel more comfortable about the economy in the future, right? Making lenders feel more comfortable.
Is there, where do you find out specifically, obviously it comes onto the news, before the news, where does the federal government announce the change rates?
The Fed itself, the Federal Reserve Bank, will announce they're going to change rates. If you generally just follow business news, anything, I tend to like CNN or CNBC just because I like more neutral. If you go Fox or MSNBC, you get very skewed. Right? So I try to get more neutral views. You can just say, the Fed will tell it, they already anticipate, and actually most of the economists will predict already, they're betting, you'll see the economy bet. All right, that's on. By the time the Fed actually raises the rates, the economy usually already adjusts to it because everyone's forecasting what the Fed is going to do, and they assume that action. And when they assume that action, they change their buying and selling habits on the stock market and treasuries and all that stuff, already adjust to that reality. Now, if the Fed comes out and does something different, then it causes a stir because everyone's assuming it's going to do something and it didn't, right? So that's when it causes a stir. But the stock market stuff is very forward. So what you're going to see is you'll see the Fed is scheduled to make rates. Right now, the Fed says we're going to raise rates as much as necessary to get this under control. And they need to say that because the banks and everybody want them to get this under control. When you create hyperinflation, it creates bad things in the economy, very bad things, right? So, you don't want. So they're putting that message out. They increased it they increased it 3/4 point this last time. Rates went down. They said we're going to keep increasing it until we get signs that the economy is getting, the inflation is getting control. Most are predicting they will have to drive it to a recession to make that happen, and I probably agree. They probably have to put the economy in a recession to get the inflation under control.
That destroys value.
Not necessarily. We'll talk about that. All right. Yeah. Okay. So this is trends. Everyone know how to get to trends?
No.
Okay. If you go into Metro List, right? You're gonna go back out. Wait, you disappeared. Don't forget to share the screen too.
It's shared.
I don't. It's not here.
I'm bringing up Metro.
Okay. Okay. So you log into Metro List, right? Everyone know Metro List? Okay. I'm sure you can. I assume you can get to Metro List, right?
What's this website? Never heard of it.
Yeah. So Metro List, and can you show them what trends are? So trends. If you want it, honestly, if you want to know the local housing market, this is the best thing. The stats come out right after the first of the month. You'll get new stats for the month. You should put it on your calendar to review the stats. You want to sound super smart on the economy? You want to super sound on the local housing market? This is the thing. Now we're going to talk about how to read this. You need to be able to read this for you and your clients. So here we have the first page is for sale versus sold, and there's several tabs at the top. And afterwards, Amy will show you how to print out a whole report for this. But what do you notice? See, the light blue is for sale, green is sold, the red line is pending. How many is on pending? What can you tell? What can you tell from this? All right. There you go. Well, good job. Yeah.
A lot more for
Hey,
sale than pending, yeah.
What? What happened?
Market cool off a little.
Did it cool off?
No,
No,
How much did it cool off?
not much.
Well, it was pending at 4,500, 4,600, 4,500, and now we're at 3,900, 3,400. So it did cool a little on the pending side. That means people actually going into contract, right? Going to contract. So we do have something, but something went way up.
listings, yeah.
For sale.
A lot more listings.
Now, the funny part is more listings than ever before the last 2 months. Why? What?
Panic, yeah.
No, this is not how many are for sale. This is how many came on the market for sale.
Right.
So it's not how many for sale. It's like a bunch of sellers came on the market in May and June, right? A bunch of sellers came on the market that month. Why?
Because they were.
Here.
They're afraid. Panic.
What?
They
Panic.
didn't want it to be left behind.
Yes. What happened is the market shifted. And when the market shifts, it shifts rapidly, right? And you had a bunch of people that were trying to play the housing market. Now I'm going to get the top dollar. And I always warn my clients, I was like, if you gun for the top, you're going to be past the top. You're going to be on the other side of the top chasing the market. And this is exactly what happened, right? A bunch of people were talking about listing ads, thinking about listing, market change. Oh, everyone list now! Too late. Right? And you see listings fly up.
Yeah.
Right? Makes sense?
Yeah.
I just want you to know, pendings, it did go down here in December and June. And see now, it went way down and started November, December, January, February, and it came back up. What does that tell you?
Shows a recovery.
Yes.
My holiday, it's always seasonal.
No matter what everyone says, we are a seasonal market. Sacramento is a seasonal market. We sell less homes in the holidays in the winter. It
Yeah.
just happens. That's why I schedule like my big vacations at like Thanksgiving and Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, because I know it's going to be slower. Makes sense? So,
Yes.
plan your life as a real estate agent. So seasonal. So I guarantee as we go into the third and fourth quarter of this year, everyone's gonna be like, oh my gosh, the market's crashing. And a lot of it is just gonna be seasonal. It'll be okay. Just keep lead genning, because when it comes back out, people are ready, they will sell, right? So, all right. Everyone understand this graph? It's important to understand it. Now scroll down a little bit. All right, let's look. These are the most important stats. This is same from current month, June 21 to June 22. What's it say? Listings, 96% up. 96% up. That means there's double the amount of sellers than there were last June. Literally double almost. That's how many people were like trying to ride the highest market. Crazy how many people think, right? What does it say? Pendings and closes. What is it?
Yeah.
Down 25% year over year. And that's what we're projecting. We're projecting about a 25% decline in sales until inflation gets under control. The good part though, once inflation gets under control, you're probably going to see rates back in the 3-4 range. Ratchet back down. That's why I'm telling buyers right now, buy now, you get choice,
Right.
and you can refi in the future,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But when the market rate comes back down, what's going to happen?
It's gonna be.
Remember, just like you couldn't find a home, remember? And all those buyers are like, I couldn't find a home, I quit. If you wait, just like these sellers waited, if you wait, you're going to be back in that same market and frustrated again, right? So people who are smart and savvy take advantage of shifts. They don't wait for the shifts to happen. So I want you to note that even May to June is down a little bit, but only 10.5%. This is same quarter to quarter is about 14%. So we're seeing a drastic change these last couple months, but it is kind of evening out, is slowing down, right? So we are coming down, and that it is a response to what the government is putting people on pause. Now, having said that, 2021 was the most sales in the United States resale market ever. Best market ever. So anything less than that is going to feel like it's a disaster, but actually it's just calming down. And you need to get that sort of vernacular into your conversations with clients. It's a cooling or calming of the market, right? You need to use those kind of terms. Yeah.
What about normalizing?
Normalizing, that's fine too.
That's what I use.
Yeah, normalizing of the market, right? Yeah, and everyone's go, how the last year's been crazy, and they all can say, yeah, it's crazy. Did it feel like you're going 120 miles with the pedal down to the floor? Yeah, it felt like that at times, right? Inflation is a response to that, right? What happens when you have the pedal to the floor too much? Yeah, you lose a little control, right? Gets a little scary, gets a little unwieldy to handle. And that's what the government did. It shoved a bunch of money in the economy, revved it up because they didn't want it to crash. So they revved it up. And guess what? They revved it up too much.
Yes.
And now they're like, put the brake on, right? And that's okay. We want that because we're losing a little bit of control, right? People are unhappy. Gas prices are crazy. It's not good, right? So, all right. Average price per square foot. This is another stat. What's it saying here? This is a very normal, but if you notice something, average price per square foot, even in June where we're having 25% drop in pennies and close, look, it's still higher than 1 year, way higher than a year ago.
298 and 330, yeah.
So are values tanking all over the place?
No.
No.
They're going to have to go a long way from 339 to get to 298 even 1 year ago. They're going to have to go a long way. That make sense? So people need to calm down, right? All right, let's go to days on market. This is good. What's this say? What's this green line? Anyone know?
Average day.
No?
Sale price for original listing price.
So that means the listing agent lists it for a price, and how much is it finally closed? What's the price it actually closes at compared to that price? Look at it. For the last year, it's been 100 to 103, 102 list price. June, even 25% reduction in sales in June, 99% of list price. Oh yeah, so are the sellers losing a little? 1%. That means if it's a $550,000 house, what's the average? They were going 5,500 list price to get that house, on average.
But they're making it up when they buy a house. because they're buying it in the same market.
But the good news is this is a median point, right? So some are paying over, and you still will see people pay over for the right house. And some are paying under. We've gotten some great credits and deals from sellers. Great credits if you know where to look. Also, what's this one?
Outreach.
That was your big one.
Combined days on market.
Yeah. What are we at? 18. We had that longer during the winter than now. So everyone's like, ah!
Is this for all of Sacramento?
This is for
All on Metro List.
all
So,
of Metro List.
so it's Placer County, El Dorado County, Sacramento, Amador County, Gilbert County. So, Southern Flat.
As well.
Which is good, because you want to see a picture overall.
Are we able to
Yeah.
zoom in to like Natomas only?
You can go by county, you can go by, we can do that.
I said,
Yeah, we'll do that too. So, once we get to the tabs, I'll show you. You can look. What?
It's higher than that.
Okay.
It is really
You
good to go locally when you're going on a listing appointment so that you can understand, you know, if you're listing a $1.1 million house, you need to know how many days on market are homes like that selling for. You can't use generalized terms like this when you're talking about a specific property.
Correct.
But when you're reviewing market statistics, you don't want to go too
Specific.
because you need a generalized overview of what's happening in the market. That way, when you do go on a listing appointment and you do look at the specifics, compare it to the general market, and then
You have some perspective.
you have
So,
perspective.
like, a good example, right? You just
I
said,
forgot my name.
I was trying to say example, I forgot that. But for a good example, Thelma gave is Davis is hired. Why do you think Davis is hired?
Because they're scared and they're in denial, but they're getting better. That's my personal opinion. But, you know.
No, and my personal opinion is when a market gets soft, which is the first market to get soft is
It's more expensive.
the luxury market,
Yeah.
right? Because the luxury market means I'm extending myself far. I'm extending myself more. I'm putting more risk out there. And so the first people to feel instability, generally you'll see luxury market pull back first.
I will say that jumbo rates are about 1.5 points below what the.
Right, and why are jumbo rates up?
Rates.
So like jumbo rates, yeah, we tried to qualify a jumbo rate, they were getting approved at 4.
Right now?
Why? Yeah, why? Why are jumbo rates 4.25? Super low. Normal almost, right? Normal.
Is it the amount that they're borrowing that makes it lower, or, I don't know, I'm just asking.
more money on.
They're encouraging the buyers to.
Move up, yeah.
Yes. Because why? If you're a jumbo lender and the luxury market is tanking, what happens?
You lose money, so you drop the rate.
You stop doing loans and you think that, you hear all the lenders laying off people and they're doing normal price loans. You imagine you're only a jumbo lender? You're screwed, right? Like it went from it didn't just go down to 40, 70, it didn't go down 25%. It went down like 75%, right? So the jumbo lenders are desperate. And the thing that jumbo lending does is they're not Fannie Freddie boss, so they don't have money on the back end. It's their money and their investors. They call it jumbo because they're not guaranteed by Fannie Freddie to go above the performing loan. But they're at a price that the government won't insure the loan.
675 plus, right?
Yes, well, depending on the county.
It's around
Above-
74 and some change.
Yeah, in this county.
74 and some change.
Oh,
And it also depends on number of units too. But it's another story. Up to 4. It goes up as you go. But anything above that is considered jumbo, which means the government doesn't do it. So you tend to see hedge funds, banks do these loans, and they're just lending their own money. They're not getting it from someone else. They're lending their own money. Those loans have dried up a lot. So what does it do? It forces them to drop the rates, trying to keep but this still. And that's why you see the market manipulating the luxury market, because it's impacted more by this than us. Because just like you in a tight market, you guys buy less luxury goods, what do you do? People who are wealthy tend to buy less luxury houses, right? They're not willing to extend them as far because they're worried about what the future. So you've seen that. So that's why Thelma says, that's not Davis, we have longer, because yeah, I go look at a house in Davis and it's 900,000 and it's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet. Right? Am I right? And then I go to El Dorado Hills Yeah, I go to Eldorado Hills and I'm like, I can buy a palace for almost that same amount of price, right? And people start making choices, right? So, that's what you need to understand is, yeah, it is soft in some areas. And that's why Amy made a very good point. Depending on the house and where you're going to list, you do need to go local, super local, that zip code. You need to see what's happening there versus, and that's why you're so right, you need to have the full picture so you can see what's happening overall in the market and then what's happening at that local market and compare it. That's where you become the economist of choice. The funny part is you want to know where your value is? The value isn't looking at the stats, honestly. Anyone who can Google real well can find the stats, right? But what they can't do is interpret the stats. That's where you're the consultant. You can say, it says this is what it means. This is why these are why houses in Davis are not selling. It's taken 30, 40 days to sell a house in Davis, right? So you can see those things and explain. That's when you explain they're like, we're only talking to John if we need to sell it by. We're only talking because that they know what they're talking about.
And that's when you can set the proper expectation. What we're hearing a lot of, I'm talking to top producing agents, what we're hearing a lot of is they're no longer blaming the market. They're now, the market has shifted and sellers are now saying, I'm not happy with my agent. It's very important for you to understand pricing and how the market works globally, then in our area, and then in their specific neighborhood. And you need to set the proper expectations.
Absolutely.
You can't set expectations that their home is going to sell next week when the average days on market in the neighborhood is 30 days, right? If you're telling that, if you don't know the average days on market and you can't get it sold in their perception of the average days on market, you're now not the good agent that you were. And that's money out of your pocket that you spent on the listing that you can't get back if they go with someone else. So I think it's really important to know this. But also, what's another subject that we just talked about that you should all be an expert in? What are your clients using to purchase these homes?
Money,
Lending.
mortgages.
John can talk about lending almost as if he's a lender. He is a lender. But he can talk about lending almost as if he is one. And he's probably been doing that since the beginning because he partnered with a lender that taught him or he learned on his own about these loans. You have to know the products that your clients are going to be using to purchase the product that you sell.
And I can tell you something, one thing I had to get during the recession, get very good at loans because I had to think, and I got so good, I was telling lenders like, have you thought about this program or this thing and this thing? And I would get things approved because I knew better, right? So what I would do is I would talk to a lot of lenders. If a buyer went in and got denied, I would go talk to lenders like, what exactly happened? Why did they get denied? What was the criteria that they got denied on? Not just like, oh, they didn't have the credit or they didn't qualify with the ratios. What was the ratio? Why did they not qualify? What's the back end? What's the front end ratio, right? You got to know those things, right? And then you can understand loans at a high level. And trust me, they're willing to tell you. Lenders love talking to agents, trust me. So,
You could probably eat lunch for free for the next year if you just talk.
honestly, they were like, talk to you, agent, you sell homes? Sure, hey, come on, well done, lunch.
I'll take you to
How
lunch.
many people call you like, we're looking to have lunch and coffee with you? I get those messages, right? So, all right, move forward a little bit. Average
This is
price.
my favorite graph
This is-
ever, guys.
This tells you how unrealistic sellers are,
Yeah.
basically. That green line is what people list homes for sold on average, and this is the red line is what they actually sell for on average across the whole thing.
This graph is single-handedly causing the fear in the market. Single-handedly. Because what has happened is sellers watch the market increase 20%, 20%, 20%. And then they said, well, it's going to go 20% again. I want the top pricing of the market. And then when they can't sell their home,
Sure.
they drop their home down. And then what do all the news lines say?
Prices crash.
Prices crash.
Yeah,
Did the
exactly.
market cause the price to crash? Or are sellers that are unrealistic with their...
A bad agent keep telling them they can sell it, telling them they can sell at that price, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it really is the agents buying a listing.
Yeah.
It's called buying a listing, where you tell the seller what they want to hear in order to get your sign.
I want to know it is trending down on both levels toward here. And just know that is telling you both buyers and sellers are getting real about it. Like the motivated buyers and sellers, because we know 25% are not selling, but the other 75% are getting more real. They understand that I can get a deal. Sellers are understanding if I want to be competitive and sell, I have to be competitive. on my price. They're understanding that. So the good news is if you can find someone who's motivated, they'll price it appropriately.
Absolutely.
The buyers will go in appropriately on how they need to do the loan, right? Do the purchase. They'll know those things. They'll be more savvy about it, right? So,
I want to take a look at also, has pricing gone up or down over the last year? Really? It stayed the same? Because I'm seeing the average price in April was 579,000 and now it's 641.
this is a
Oh,
closed
yeah.
size.
And has pricing crashed? Because I'm only seeing less than a 10.
Yeah, people are like, it's a crashing, and we're at 641, and April of 2021, we're at 579.
It's, yeah,
Yeah,
it's up quite a bit.
And then have to go a long way to get to 579, right? A long way, just to get back to April of last year. So when people are like, the sky has fallen, these stats and your understanding and explaining these to your clients is gonna help you be like, oh, that seems stupid, right? Like, remember, all these news organizations are trying to do clickbait, right? And they're doing the worst story they can think of the stats to make you click and watch that thing. And people read fear. You gotta dispel that fear. This is how you. So let's go to the next one. Month of inventory. What's happening?
We got some inventory.
We got more inventory. We know because all the people started listing their homes, right?
Yeah.
We're at how much? How many months?
1.9.
1.9.
Not even 2.
What's a buyer's market? What if we switch to a buyer's market? What happens? How many months of inventory?
3, and then 3 to 6.
6. 6 to get 6, somewhere between 5 and 7 is the even market between sellers and buyers. Anything above 7 is considered a buyer's market, where the buyers have control. Prices tend to decline, right? We're at 2.
Not even.
Not even 2. We're at 2. This is healthy. The closer, remember what happens when you get a market like this? What happens? 25 offers, 75,000 listing, cash, no appraisals. Is that healthy?
No.
No, it's not healthy, right? It's crazy. Buyers check out, affordability goes out the door, right? So we want this, and it's trending toward, we're still heavily in the seller's market. We're still heavily in the seller's market. The sellers who price appropriately will have multiple offers and sell their home. That's what you need to understand. All right. Do you want to show them how to print the report?
I do.
Okay.
So I want to show you a few things that will help you out so that you can understand these graphs at the level that John and I understand them without taking this class again. Right? Okay. So on this, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, guys. Oh, too small, too small. Okay. So you can pick the criteria over here on the left-hand side. This is all of MetroList. You can pick Sacramento, Placer, El Dorado County. YOLO, you can pick just Sacramento, Placer, El Dorado. So you can make county that you like. You can break it down to zip code. You can break it down to specific areas or city. You can break it down by property type, price range, selected date range. In fact, you guys, if you really want to get a hold on the market, you can go back up to 15 years.
Yeah, and then you'll see, especially when you're talking rates or buy side, you'd be like, you're being unreasonable. Like, look.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the next thing is
Oh, one thing I do want to note, if you're looking at a condo, run the condo.
Yeah.
Don't run single family homes. It's a different housing category. It's going to behave radically. Okay. 2, like Thelma was talking about, if it's luxury or high price, skew the price range to reflect around that because it's going to give you different stats. Neighborhoods, locality, price range, type of home matters in these searches. So you need to make sure you understand that. So.
Absolutely. So on each graph, which you can click, copy as an image, paste to social media. I've posted these to social media. I've put them into my presentations, anything, you can do all of that. But also over here, if you hover over this market highlight, it's going to give you the statistics in Word format instead of graphs. So it says month of inventory based on closed sales, 1.9%. It's up 35.9% compared to last month, up 162.2% compared to last year. That means we have double and a half how many homes on the market.
And we saw that with the stat, but that, you can see how these percentages can be misleading. Yeah, we went from half a month to 2 months, right? So that's what you need to have perspective for people, right?
But isn't it because of the COVID thing, and wouldn't it be more, a little bit more, not as skewed on a normal year that didn't have COVID?
You mean these?
Yeah, I'm talking about the inventory, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, well, two things happened with COVID. Well, several things happened while we're here. During COVID, the government put a lot of money out there, and the rates went down to 2. And you don't know this, it's because the Fed, how the Fed's trying to slow down the market now. The Fed subsidized the market, put cash into the market, the mortgage market, to give rates down because they wanted people to buy and sell their home. They wanted people to do the activity, right? That's why we were one of the first industries to be declared, that wasn't initially declared essential because they wanted us to work because we were key to the economy, right? They wanted realtors out there selling, so they wanted rates low so they could sell. Also, COVID shifted and this is rare, this doesn't happen all the time. This is a rare activity. What COVID did was shifted buyer preference. What did they shift? What do people want now? More space. I want to be in a less crowded city. Now I'm next to everyone, I'm going to get COVID. I want to go rural.
But you're and if they live in the Bay Area.
Yeah, I live in the Bay. I want to cut my costs. I can work from home now. And we found out in the Bay Area, if you can work from home, people didn't want to live there. Right? They cut their costs and came over here, right? And so buyer preferences changed overnight. And then what happened, most of it was people got the ability to work from home. And so they needed more space because they wanted an office at home. And they wanted to live where they wanted to live now because they have the ability because they were working from home, right? And they tended to go more rural because they want to get away from big people and a lot of people, right? So it changes things dramatically. So what happens when you have buyer preference change and low rates with a lot of money? What happens?
More sales.
People
Move.
People gangbuster sale, right? Because everyone was moving because they could. They had the money because I'm getting helicopter money from the government. I'm getting super low rates. What the hell, right? I'm going to sell my house in the Bay Area. I'm going to have $1 million equity. I'm just going to buy and pay cash over there, or pay cash over there, right?
And you said that
Right.
originally. When had COVID, you just said that you were.
You don't understand. I was doing
Fair.
Facebook video posts to my clients. Were sending messages. I was like, buy now, buy now. I was like, I know you're all scared of COVID and we will wear masks. We will do videos. I don't care. Buy now. You will not regret it. And some of my clients did, and they're like sitting super happy right now. But then as soon as everyone figured out, the door closed. What happened? As soon as everyone figured out, boom, market starts going crazy, right? But there was a period there, and it was from April when they shut it down to about end of that year. It was like gold. I was like, if you bought now, you're gold. After that, because people started figuring out, oh, this COVID thing is not going away. It's going to be okay. Oh, let's go buy a home, right?
At 2.3 interest rate.
Exactly. So those things happened, right? At the same time, it created an economy where people wanted to sell because they wanted to move farther away. So Sacramento people moved to Idaho and Nevada, and Bay Area people moved to Sacramento, right? And so you see this transition happening of where everyone wants to go. The problem is they heated that up too much. And that's why it pushed the inventory way down. And the problem is by putting those market rates too low is, who owns a home? Did anyone refi during this time?
I don't have a mortgage.
About 3 times.
I don't have a
Right?
mortgage.
Yes.
Oh, you don't have a mortgage. Okay, that's good. If you have a mortgage, did you refi? Yeah, I refied all my homes. I'm like, we're doing that one first, and that one first, and that one next, and that one next, right? So they refi. Now, if you want to buy, you got to sell your 2.3 mortgage and buy a 5.5% mortgage, right? Not many people are going to do that. And so what it happened is it made inventory way low. Way low, right?
Yeah.
Toward the end of the COVID, it made it way low. And now people are struggling because they're like, if I sell my 2.3, I want to get a 5. So that's why you see inventory drop low, but then you see people come back, see? Because people are still motivated to sell. Still motivated to sell. That's why I say life events still happen. Life events still happen. Don't underestimate, people don't move when they want you to move, they move when their life changes. They move when their life changes. You just have to be the person talking to them and in their mind when they have to make a change. That's what you need.
Okay, back to this. real
Sorry,
quick. It's okay. So another tip, you have the market highlight, it will tell you about the graph, and then you have a quick guide. If you're not a graph person, you don't know how to necessarily extrapolate the information that's been given to you on the graph, this will tell you how to do it. It explains it in all detail. I love this. Okay, this is how I learned how to read this. And then the best part ever, a market summary. There it is. Okay, so a market summary, this is going to put it into, this is going to put it into a nice little PDF version for you that reads just like a story. You can also get it branded to you if you enter your information. You can print this and email this to your sphere and be the economist that is explaining this to them. You can email it to them and create a video that gives them some highlights on the stats that you're presenting. But it says June 2022 is a seller's market. The number of for sale listings was up 96% from 1 year earlier. You know what I love about this? It's not me. It's third-party information. And I tell them, this is actually information that's pulled directly from the MLS. These are statistics, people. We cannot argue with them. The numbers don't lie. And I love presenting that to my clients because it gives them a view of the market that's educated, but it's not just me interpreting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It can't just be you. It's got to come from a source
So
greater than you.
you don't have to sound like John.
Right.
Use the paper to sound like John. It's already there for you, right?
It has
You don't have to,
graph.
it doesn't be like that. You just do it, right? And the thing is, what Amy doesn't know is, I had to do the same thing. I had to read the highlights and figure this out. And I got real good at it to where now I can just talk about it, right? I was born with the knowledge, but just as a baby, I'm like, rates work, rates win.
So did you go down the station? Can I show you real quick? All right, so
Trends.
here's the trends.
Yeah.
And then when I want the market summary, I click market summary. It's gonna bring up a pop-up box.
And then you put your MLS, your MLS ID in there.
I bet it's gonna your watch.
If you don't know, maybe it updates your profile picture like every 6 months. So.
Yes. You can put, like, I like to put owner of my company in here. You guys should know that. You're all business owners. Act like it.
Is
All
this
right.
our public profile?
This is
No.
your.
This is your MLS profile.
Show me your picture. Look at
Your
that.
MLS profile.
So it's got my
Your
picture
system's
on
doing the
here.
job.
It's got my picture on here. It's got my information. You can print this up and give it out to the neighborhood, to your farm, to your client. I take these to listing appointments and I give these to my buyers because I don't want to have to educate them too deeply on the market. I want to give them something that they can take home and read themselves.
But even if they could take it home and you can explain, hey, this is what it says.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, smart. When we talk about being the economist of choice, we're talking like this. What I like is often these give you the highlights. So what I, like you take the image and post it. So I'll take an image and I'll just copy what it says and put that in the comments right on the post. And now you look super smart and you got none of it. You did none of it yourself. Right? So this is gonna be like, wow, that guy really knows what he's talking about. I love that graph. You know, you're gonna get the C-type guys, you know, the engineers, the architects. One, you're gonna get people with money.
Yeah.
You get people with money, but also you get people, I love the C-types that come in. I had a C-type one come in and I knew because his engineer, him and his wife said we were thinking about buying a home up here and there. And the first thing he says, John, why is this a good economy to buy? Whenever they say that, C-type. You know, as I said, come in the train. I took him out of the conference and put in the train. He's like, I'm going to put some stats on. I pulled up trends. I said, we're going to talk about the market.
Yeah.
And I went through these trend stats. He's like, okay, honey, let's buy. That's it. Because C-types love the information. The good part about it is they don't often have fear about the economy, but they don't make decisions unless they have the information. So C's are very good in this economy because they're not afraid of change. They're usually prepared. They think they know it all. But if you can provide inside information that gets them to that point, they will say yes, right?
Absolutely. I was reading this report and never having to use it. No joke. I was in a great market. Everybody's buying. Never had to use it. But I was reading it anyways, just to have it in my back pocket. Okay. I go on a showing with a C-type. They were buying a vacation home here in the hills. And he asked me out of the blue, how many months of inventory are there in
They will ask.
the market? And it just popped out. It just popped out. Oh, there's about 30 days of inventory in the current market. It just came out. I said it so quickly, I didn't even realize that I gave him the right answer, and I thought, is that right? But it was because I'd been reading this so much and I'd internalized the information that when he asked the question, I knew the answer without even really thinking about it. So I think it's an important feature. Even if you are not using it all the time, it's going to be there in your back.
And some of you say, how do I increase my price point of my buyers? If you do that, if you're the economist of choice, you're going to attract more high price buyers because they're going to, especially the C types that tend to be more wealthy on average. Attract. All right.
Diana, you got a question?
You also said this comes out every month on the 10th, right?
I think it comes out between the first and the fifth.
Yeah, the first, sometimes it'll be like third, fourth, it'll come out and they'll have the new stat.
Are you guys saying this to your recently sold people too? Kind of calm them down, like, oh my God, I just bought this house, market's.
That would be a great.
Yeah, what we're doing is,
Here's what I would do. Put them in your database and send it to everybody.
yeah,
Don't discriminate. Send it to people that you want to do business with. Do you think that they would be more inclined to do business with you if they were educated on the market by you?
I would take this report on to email. This is good news, not bad news.
Oh,
Okay.
This is good. This is good news about housing, not bad news. Here, I say, I know you're hearing a lot of crap out there. No, I wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying, right? And then, but here's some stats that you should know about where the sky is not falling. If you want a deeper conversation about your particular neighborhood and house, I'm happy to have that. Give me a call and we'll set up a conversation.
that's acting like.
Send it to your database. And then what you're saying is, I'm your economist. I'm here to tell you the truth. All right? I'm your liaison for housing. That's what, your message needs to be themed of I'm your person you need to talk to. When you think real estate, you need to call. That's what you want. That's how you want a business that constantly feeds itself. You're like, John, your business is so easy. You've been in a long time. You know what the difference is? I just got a lot of those people. Now they call me no matter what.
He trains them well.
Yeah, I've trained my advertisers. I got people advertising me all over the place, and I train them. Right?
I think it's also important too. I had clients blow me up when they made that new law where you could build a second unit on your. My phone blew up when they announced that law, and I hadn't even learned about it yet. But all of my clients trusted me.
Right. That's what you
They
want.
didn't call their assemblyman. They called their realtor about laws. I loved it. I was like, yes, bring it. If you think of housing, think of me.
That's why we need. You guys should come to team meetings because we talk about these things. And the point of we talk about is not just so you know, it's so that you can let your clients know, and then you look like the expert, right? So, okay, let's move forward. Back to the slide.
Back to slide.
All right, that was a lot, but good. So, rule number 1: study trends monthly. Get to know them. Become the economist of choice. All right. All right. You also want to tell the story locally. This is going to be different. I like the Sacramento Business Journal, but it costs money to do it. But you can find this on the SAC if you're just generally searching. Real estate is local. Real estate is always local. We looked at the stats showing. This is when you need to say, this is not the crash. The people who lived through the crash last time are having PTSD that it's going to happen. Right? How do you see that? We told that. Original price to sales price. If it crashed, why are houses selling at 99% of the list price? Right? Listed inventory is up. Months of inventory is still 1.9 months. It's a seller's market still. Right? Unemployment rate in California, 3.7%. If you actually wanted to quit real estate and go get a job, hey, this is probably the best time to do it. Not that I'm advocating that, but this is the best time to do it. It's a buyer's market and employment. So understand that, the crash isn't, remember last crash was too much inventory, not enough buyers, a bunch of layoffs. The only layoffs happening in our economy right now are lenders because they stopped the refis. So think about that. We are fundamentally different than the previous market, and that's important to know. You got to understand that and be able to explain it. So,
Money's different.
money's different. Remember, you got to understand this. Seller's market is 5 months of inventory or less. Balanced market is something between 5 and 7 months. Buyer's market is 8 or more months. So that last tab, remember, is months of inventory. If you just want to have a guide, that's a good guide on where the market is. Okay? You can see we still have to have 3 more months of inventory to get out of a seller's market, right? We're at 2 approximately now. We need 3 more months of inventory to even get out of a seller's market where the sellers are really going to have to cater to the buyers, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
And even then, guess what, guys? People still buy and sell homes.
Yeah.
People are still buying and selling homes. You just have to make sure that you have a lead generation system that's going to get you in front of as many people as possible, so that you can find the ones that are. It's not always going to be just your sphere, but there are deals in your sphere. But you're going to have to add some piece, some leg of lead generation that's going to add to your sphere.
That's looking for motivated people.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do we differ? You need to be able to answer these questions, because you're going to get this question a lot. How does this differ from last? Well, they're not going to say how this. They're going to say the recession is going to happen again. We're going to have 50% drop in pricing, and everything's going to be foreclosures and short sales everywhere, and yada, 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 right? Then there's a few fundamental differences that you have to internalize when you talk to these people. We don't have fake loans like last time. Every loan we're doing now is underwritten, verified, income, down payment, approved. No one can.
You got burned.
Back then, you could do stated income. I work at McDonald's and I make $100,000 a year. Approved. Now you can't. So the lending laws are much more strict now, where the lenders can't get into those exotic loans like they did last time. There's no loans, and that's really what drove it down. We have a lack of housing. We're at still 2 months inventory, not an overabundance. When the recession happened, the home builders were still building, and we were already at like 7, 8 months of inventory, 9 months of inventory, even before it crashed. If you watch the market, if I go back to 2007, you'll see the inventory rise real wide. There was a time when the new home builders, all the buyers weren't buyers, they're just investors doing stated income loans to buy investment property, all the new homes. We don't have that now. The problem is that economy, because we had too many homes, when we crashed, people could get out of their home and go to another home that's go rent a house at half the rent because there's too many homes. We have not enough homes. That means even if we wanted to crash, the economy's trying, the rates are trying to crash, but people don't have anywhere to live. We don't have enough homes. People are still living with their parents, and kids with parents, or parents with kids.
What you said before, and you said too, a lot of people, like I do tax, a lot of people are getting clobbered for a two-bedroom apartment out in the Greenhaven area. So I had a loan officer talk to the guy, mortgage broker, because he wants assistance. But he's got a pretty good income, so.
Yeah.
If you got 70 grand, you should be able to qualify for
Say
something.
someone, I'm gonna let my house go in this market and go rent. Have you priced an apartment? Right over there, it's like 2 bedroom, 2 bath is like 2,400, 2 bedroom.
Yeah, that's what you told us about a year ago.
That's ridiculous, right? That's ridiculous. So fundamentally, that's the thing you can say. If it was really crashing, wouldn't the first thing to crash would be the rent? Because those are the people that would be most affected by a recession, are the marginal people who are employed. The marginal people employed tend to be renters. They tend to be inconsistent. They hold down the menial jobs, right?
Yeah.
That's the first to crash when they can't afford it, and yet rental rates are still projected to go up. Why? So make people think, right? Lack of housing means rents stay high. This market is created artificially. This market was created by the Fed because it didn't want to tank the market during COVID. And all we're doing is dealing with the effects of ramping up the economy too much. That's what happened. Just calm down. We need to do this because that way next year we'll get back to normal, right? And that's what everyone wants. Let's get back to normal, right? So, all right. Are you feeling better yourselves? Okay. All right. So you need to have some conversation like this. We are having a calming of the market. It's actually a good thing. House price appreciation over 10% a year is unsustainable, and the Fed raising interest rates and getting inflation under control is necessary, right? Whether we go into recession or not, it will not likely be harsh and will slow down appreciation in Sacramento. Most economists are still predicting a modest appreciation in home values for the rest of the year in the Sacramento area because in the end, a lack of housing inventory And that will likely continue because most homeowners have low interest loans in place, right? That means most people are not going to move. We're still going to have a shortage of homes for sale, and that's going to keep the market, it's not going to crash the market because people still need homes and not a lot of people are going to sell their homes, right? So,
Well, they still have to find a place to live.
yeah, that's the thing is fundamentally a good part about housing is, and that's why we say find the motivated, is someone always has to have a place to live, right? They always do.
Also, this is not a lack of housing in just the Sacramento market. Overall, in the United States, we have a lack of 1 million. Maybe it's around 800,000 now because they've done some building.
But it is pretty bad.
800,000 homes they would need to build in the United States in order for every single person to have the house that they need to have. So that means we've got years of this.
And do you know a bunch of people who are living multiple generations of home? And if they had their preference, they wouldn't be, right? And that's where you see that, where when there's lack of housing, we see crunch. But if they had the opportunity to separate, they would. And you can see during COVID, when they did, right? So, exercise overcoming buyer seller objections. So I'm going to put this up. I want you guys to pair up. Now that you have all this, I want one of you to be the buyer or prospective buyer. I want one of you to be the agent, and the buyer is going to say, I don't want to buy in this economy. I'm scared we're going to crash. And I want you to respond as the agent.
With this script.
You can do that? So you guys are pairs. You two pair right there. You pair.
Got it, take a picture.
Yeah.
This is going to take, sorry. We're going to take about 3 minutes to do this, so please get started. And once you're done, switch.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, go for it.
I'm the buyer.
If you're online, you should go ahead and practice on yourself.
Okay,
Now.
And we would need about
I don't care if it's old enough where, I also could call it taxes. If I move somewhere, pay $800 a year in taxes, you pay about $3,000. And, so you don't go anywhere.
But guess what? Market
So,
is
I don't think we have a
also
cash
a good thing, you know, and the house price is
Well, definitely, 4 times in a period of time.
We have to drop down.
Okay, guy was looking for a computer person, so therefore.
You just keep it for a year. We still have a base.
You want that?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, you have to.
And what do you be the buyer for? So ask him, I'm scared to buy a house. What I want you to do is, but I want you to have that argument so that when someone responds to what you do that, you can have at least this. Okay, good, okay. No. It doesn't have to look exactly like that. Well, you can get another one. Okay. Yeah, the huge trends is just the way. Right now. Okay, we got about another minute. You should be wrapping up, sir. You want to put your efforts in. Yeah, this stuff, you can take whatever words they have. And put it in there. Yeah. Okay, you should be wrapping up. Wrapping up, please.
Yeah, true, that's what I'm saying.
You have to click on it.
Don't say that.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Wrap it up. Who felt it convinced the other side that it's okay? Don't worry, it's a little bit complicated script, right? So don't worry if you messed it up, that's okay. But I want to impress upon you, you gotta have an off-the-cuff answer. You gotta have a prepared objection handler that's something similar to this. You'll get it at open houses, you'll get it at listing appointments, you'll get it at conversations in the grocery store. Gotta be able to answer this question, okay? When they challenge you on the economy, they say it's gonna crash, recession, you gotta have an answer. If you say, I'll get back to you with a trends email, that's not gonna work. Does that make sense? Okay. So internalize this, all right. What are the 3 things you can work on that you can control in a shift as a realtor?
It's all kitchen.
No, spending money is not the agenda. I mean, it could be, yeah, it could be. But what are the things you can control? Your actions.
Yeah.
You can't control what the Fed does or what mortgage rates do or anything, but you can control what you do, which ironically is not just in a shift, which is normal life anyways, but in a shift especially. So we want to make sure we're going to focus on these things, but you need to likely work harder, right? A little more effort these days.
I think in the lead generation with your mindset and your work ethic, you need to open yourself up that you've probably never done these things before or had these conversations before. You're going to be uncomfortable. That's okay. It's okay for you to be uncomfortable. That's where the magic happens, right? That's where you grow and you learn new things. If you're not comfortable with changing or getting better, this is where you will lose. Because everybody else who is comfortable changing and getting better and pivoting is going to take your place. So your work ethic is not just how much you dial or how many people you talk to. It's also your mindset around that activity in general.
And all of that is your skill set, right?
And then the skill set.
Skill
comes
set, like
next.
how do I talk to these people to get hired? If that didn't work, am I changing the way I do it? Am I reflecting on what failed? I went on a listing appointment and failed. What did I do wrong? What should I do better next time? Be in that kind of mode, right? So, I want to point this out, and people see me 15 years ago where you guys were here, right? Or you were. I was talking about how I did all day open houses, right? That was work ethic, right? Work ethic. Do you think I got better at talking to people about the economy if I did open houses all day long?
Yeah.
And I told you I did fix her home, so most people who come in the house were investors. Do you think I gotta be able to talk to them about how the economy is, how the market is, why it's a good way to invest, what you should offer for this house? Those are important things. They're very important if you want to get investor clients. So I had to get a skill set around that, right? And that's where I started studying trends and stats, because I had to be able to quote these things to buyers, right? Understand that? How would you spend? Where you spend? So let's talk a little bit about that. Exercise, we know you're probably going to see a reduction. We saw about 25% reduction, right?
Yeah.
From year over year. So how many transactions did you do last year, or the last 12 months? Anyone know? And if it's zero, then it's going to be zero. Yeah, how many transactions have you done? 3.
Okay.
In the last 12 months? 5. Now, if I reduce that, if you take that number in your phone and calculator and times it by 0.75, how much is that?
So everybody take your phones out.
How many transactions did it? If you're not zero, it's okay. You can say
Take out a calculator or write down this equation.
And those of you online, if you have your stuff, do it. So take out your phone. How many did you do last year, last 12 months, and times it by 0.75? And if you keep doing the same thing you're doing, that's the minimum it's gonna, your count, even your close is gonna drop.
Oh.
Right? And if you don't actually do good on the skill set, converting better, then it's gonna drop more than that. So if you close 5, you're probably gonna, what, 3? So close 5 in the last year. If you do nothing different, at minimum, you're only gonna close 3. And if you don't ignore it and you don't do any of the skill set training, you're probably going to do 1 or 2. So when we talk about it's a skills-based market, you need to be the economist of choice, is you need to do this work to hold serve, to keep your 3. And if you want to go above 4 to 5 and keep it 4 or 5 and go beyond that, then you got to treat those things consistently. I consistently work on my skill set. I consistently work on. That's why my real estate team, we do script practice 3 days a week now. Why? Because we need to get very good at script. Because this is a great time to take market share, because a lot of agents are not. This is a great time to grow on share. So, anyone scared about that? Remember, the markets are going to hand you a 75% rate on your closings. Right? And if you're at 0, then it's made it 25% harder for you to get your first closing. Make sense? So these tools are what helps you get better. So find the motivated. Who wants to find the motivated? Where are these motivated sellers? Where are John, Amy, tell me where the motivated sellers are.
Where do you think motivated sellers are?
I'd go home.
You don't know? Come on.
Now there's a list on the
We were
screen.
talking about it.
We're giving you the answers. But think about it. Is it people that have already raised their hand and said, I want to sell my home?
Yeah.
Okay, so who's already raised their hand and said, I want to sell my home?
Expired one, yeah.
The expires, right? And did we know there's going to be more expired? Before it was never expired to put the house on market sell, right? Now we saw, remember the gap?
Yeah.
My team has recently, in the last 2 weeks, has gotten 2 listings from expires. Why? Because do you think there's agents out there still promising a high market just to get the listing? Because they have no other skill. They say, I'll sell the price whatever you want. Just give me the listing, right? And it doesn't sell. Do you think they're pissed off at their old agent?
Yes.
And you come in to say, hey, this is how the market really is. And you need to move your family's life forward, and I can help do that, right? Expires. Biz folks.
So let's talk about first sale by owners. Was that a big thing in 2020 and 2021? Especially for 2021. Could anybody sell a house? The house fly off the shelves?
Yes.
How many people saw houses sell in one day? I saw a house go off market in an hour. So do you think that sellers thought they could do it themselves? Did they need an agent?
No.
Do they need one now?
Yeah. Do you think how many FISBOs?
Did you know that 89% of for sale by owners list with an agent? And I'm sure that number is going to skyrocket now that we're in this certain market. Did you also know that they get 82% to list price than what I can get? That's only if they're testing, that's only if they're going off of the MLS. I get 108% to list price for my sellers. Do you know what you get for your sellers? Knowing your numbers is very important, and knowing the value that you can bring to them. They need you. They need you. So when you're calling, don't call with scarcity, call understanding that they need your expertise, because otherwise they're going to leave 12% on the table on average.
And 90% of them are not gonna sell and eventually list with an agent anyways.
You just have to be the person that's in front of them.
So if I see FISBO, I'm all over like what on rice, because I know they're not likely gonna sell in this market. They're likely asking too much, and eventually they're gonna have to get desperate enough to lower the price and sell it normally to get it sold, right?
Absolutely. Now let's talk about work ethic around expireds and for sale by owners. What if you call them the first time and they don't answer?
Oh, yeah.
Do you? Do you? Be honest with yourself. Do you call them every day until they answer? Do you show up at their door?
You know it's expired, you know where they live?
If they're not doing it, I can guarantee you that their team is. That's what I would do. If I was working expireds right now, I wouldn't call, I would show up at their door. And I would knock on their door every day.
Literally my team at 8:30 in the morning downloads a list of new expires, new FISBO.
And you're paying for that service to get them?
Yes. People in financial hardships. Some people will be in financial hardship with the recession happening. It will happen. You need to be there for your clients.
I have a foreclosure listing right now. They're gonna foreclose on our property in November and we need to sell it before then.
The good part is it doesn't need to go into foreclosure or short sale because they have equity. They just have to sell.
Absolutely. We just have to
Divorce,
sell.
job relocation, transfer, death, these things all still happen. So you need to think about where do you want to go. For me, my team physical expires are easy because we already know who they are. Because they're advertising saying, hey, so we went there. These people in our world happens in our database. This is when we're saying, how are you doing? Do you have any questions about the market? Do you have any questions about housing? That's when you ask those questions, they'll come back to you with this. Make sense? And that's how you find those people. Okay. How to find them, expireds. We talked about this. Call, knock. Need expired script from bold. Oh, we have.
I want you guys to really look at this, and you're gonna see something a little bit different about this script. Actually, here, just go ahead.
Here.
Pass it around. You're gonna see something different about this script, and so I want to get some feedback from you. Sam's on the call still, I believe, right? Yeah, Sam, I have that.
Yeah, hi.
Email you that.
If you can post it on, post it on
Post
the.
it for now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it in a shared. I got you. Give me a minute.
Thank you. So, what's different about this script that you noticed?
Numbered.
Huh?
Numbered.
It's numbered. What are you saying?
What is this?
It's in order. It's in order.
Okay. Is it a script?
Is it a script?
Are you making statements?
Are you selling them? Selling them like a car salesman?
What are you doing?
Asking questions.
You're asking questions. Hey, look at that.
The person that asks the questions controls the conversation.
Yeah.
You do not know what they need from you until you can get into their shoes. And you can't get into their shoes until you ask them questions about what's going on with them. So let's look at this. And this is from Mike Ferry, you guys. I Googled it.
I like mine.
I Googled it. And these are questions that I naturally would ask based off of all the expired scripts I've ever gone through. And the questions start with, when do you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job and selling your home? Isn't that great? When do you plan to interview the right agent to sell your home?
And what are they gonna say? Never, right? Why are you calling me never? Right?
Terrific.
Terrific. Awesome.
Do you notice how there's not all, okay, hang up. There's no hang up. There's no instruction to hang up.
There's not like, oh, I suck at this. Expired suck.
Terrific. Okay, but if you sold your home, where would you go next? They give an example, Los Angeles. Well, that's exciting. How soon do you have to be there? With an expired, how soon do you think they need to be there? Yesterday, right?
Because they're expired. They're trying to sell.
They're expired. They need urgency. What do you think stopped your home from selling?
And what are they gonna say?
You don't need,
My agent.
Yeah, they're gonna say the agent sucked, right?
but I want, does it feel weird to ask that? You don't have to be the person that knows why their home didn't sell.
Well, no.
You don't have to have the answer to
You
that.
wouldn't have that answer.
They have the answer to that. Well, you might have the answer. I know.
Well, you'll have the answer.
I know why.
You'll know why, you'll know why.
I won't. You'll know why. But do they believe in agents right now? Are they going to believe your answer? Do you need to give that? They haven't even given you an appointment. Do you need to give up your expertise before the appointment? No, we don't give expertise out for free, right? How did you happen to pick the last agent that you listed with? I can guarantee it's family. Family or a close friend, right? What did that agent do that you liked best? What do you feel that they should have done?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. Okay, awesome.
What will you expect from the next agent that you choose? These are questions that are gonna help you show up like a champ. I ask at all of my listings, have you ever had a real estate experience in the past? I know they have, I'm sitting in their house. What was that like for you? Tell me more. Tell me more. Get down to the gritty of it. I want to know everything they liked about that agent and they didn't like, and then I want to mirror everything that they liked, and I want to never do what they didn't like. But I would never know how to show up for them until I ask these questions, right? So you got to ask people how do they want to be treated? That's what you're asking them right here. Have you already chosen to work with an agent? And I would like to apply for the job of selling your home. I use that statement, even when I'm talking with referrals. I love that you're giving me an opportunity to interview for the job of selling your home, because that's what I'm doing. I'm interviewing for a job. Are you familiar with the techniques that I use to sell homes? Well, what would be the best time for me to show you that?
They say no, and you say, you're kidding, you don't know?
Yeah.
When's the best time we can meet?
Yeah, you don't know
Right.
how to sell homes? We need to talk.
You know, this is questions.
Yeah.
Questions control the conversation. Questions. You need to have something like this in mind if you're going to tackle FISBOs or expenses. This is something you can learn very easily. Literally, you can memorize this.
Yeah, I should
And if you-
memorize this, not reading this, right?
Yeah.
I know, but trust me, if you make enough calls,
You will.
2 or 3 days, you'll just be like, blah, 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 right?
So the beauty is that it's leading you down a path of knowledge of what's going on with the seller. You need to ask these questions. This isn't a should I ask these. These is I have to ask these, right? And once you've internalized these, can you change some of these questions around for sale by owner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you change them around for a listing or a buyer? Do you think that learning how to ask questions of expired is going to help you learn to ask questions to people? My kids are tired of me and my questions. I question everything. Why do you think like that? Why? Where'd you get that idea? Because I don't assume anything anymore. I'm asking questions so I can get their perspective. All right. Expires. You got it now. You can use this when you go home.
If you're going to want to get expires, because expires often won't have the phone number, you'll need to use a service like Vulcan 7, Mojo, or Redx. My team uses Mojo. I think you use Redx.
I've used Redx in the past. I don't have it currently, but I've used Redx. I get for sale by owners.
And what they do is they
expires,
scrub
and
them.
circle dialing.
Yeah, they scrub the list and they power them with data to get the phone number, right? Find the phone
You
number.
can get address, phone numbers, and emails.
What dialers
And
do you
it's
guys
scrubbed.
use?
Huh?
What dialers are you guys using?
I use my cell phone.
Honestly, I would not encourage you to set money. All these services have a dialer attached to them as well, which you could pay extra money to do. If you're tight on money, I don't recommend you doing the dialer. Use the cell phone. If you feel like you use a headset and you're ready to grind it like that and you have the money, then do the dialer. It will go faster, but you can do just as effectively as if you use your cell phone.
Because the dialer dials how many at one time?
You should only be doing one at a time.
You should do it one at a
One
time.
at a time, it just dials it for you. Here's my thing about dialer though. Unless you're going to be making 150 dials a day, it's not worth it to you. Just hand dial. You know, I used to hand dial 150 phone numbers to 200 phone numbers a day. I'd pick up the phone and call. So if I could do it, you could do it. And you could do it with your cell phone.
Yeah, and honestly, unless you're an ISA or something, I wouldn't recommend a dialer. or an agent, just dial. You're less likely to become up as spam if you're just using your cell phone.
Are you
Absolutely.
guys using Google numbers for this or no?
Nope, I use my cell phone. I want them to call me, man.
I will say my team does use a Google number for this. And because we're on a dialer, it often, the cell phone companies will tag it as spam within about 2 to 3 days.
So then you're changing your
So
number.
we change our number, literally my team changes the phone number every 2 to 3 days.
So that nobody picking up the call, then.
Yeah, because when you do spam, if your response rate under spam goes down dramatically.
You'll
So
just notice.
it'll
it
go like
goes
this,
off.
our ISA will hit probably 40 to 50 contacts a day. If this number gets tagged spam, it will drop to 10 to 12 on the same amount of calls.
Then they have to change
About
the
300 to
number.
400 dials on the day.
How much does it cost to change it?
It's free.
Nothing?
So Google Voice is free?
Yeah.
Just make signs with your Google.
So I
Honestly,
like
you don't have
that,
to do that.
except for when they call you and it says, we are transferring you to a Google Voice number. I personally, I feel like I would hang up if I
If
got
you call
that.
from your cell phone and self-dial, you won't get tagged as spam.
And my question,
Okay.
so the services, instead of getting the dialer, you can get the information, so when I call.
Correct. The first thing they really are information providers. So they take the MLS data and they scrape, the FSBO, Zillow, the FSBOs on Zillow, and they take that address and name, and then they tie it to personal databases they have and put the phone numbers to type.
They're skip tracers.
The skip tracer.
This used to be
I
a
guess
big
I'm not
service.
understanding. So
So,
for example, if I go to Mojo and I call up Mojo and I'm saying I want numbers for expires, but I want to use my own phone and not.
yeah, they're gonna
Yes.
give you a computer
They're gonna
system.
give me-
Yeah,
You're gonna have
they're
a
give
platform
you
that
an
gives you
app
the,
Or a website that you're gonna log into, and they're gonna provide you with phone numbers.
the name, address, phone number. Right?
Which is
Yeah.
the same that Andre has.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
lots
think
of
I-
agents, and name's just Andre.
and not just
No,
on.
no, no, I know, I'm just using him as an
Yeah.
example.
Oh,
Yeah,
he
for
does
example,
all
my
that?
team uses
Yeah.
Mojo. Every morning we download the new expires in the area we target, and the new FSBOs in the area we target.
Is the cost.
And on the dialer, we
The
download
cost
the
is
dialer,
different
they
for
actually
each
call.
lead source. So if you
Is
want
it different
expires,
for the dialer or the phone, is it cost?
yeah, there's a cost for the
The
dialer.
cost is for the dialer, so there's a cost to get the information,
or cost?
and then there's an additional cost if you want to add the dialer. into
That's
the
what I
system.
was trying to.
Yeah. So I'm saying, if you're an agent, you're willing, I recommend you dial by your home phone. Don't pay for the dialer.
Also, the dialer, if you're looking to avoid the TCPA
Yeah.
Act, then you don't want to be using the dialer.
How's this? Even Mojo allows us to dial 3 at one time. They allow you to do that. That is illegal under TCPA. So I even make my guy call only on one line.
Line for,
Even though Mojo
Yeah,
allows us to
single
do 3,
dial.
I don't do it so that we don't violate TCPA, right? So,
That's the do not call, right? Can you use the single
no,
dialer?
it's different.
with Mojo
Just
and
do not call
be
them than
illegal?
TCPA. What?
Right, yeah.
You can use a single dialer through Mojo, right?
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So I only pay for the single dialer mode because I don't want to violate TCPA.
John. Okay, so, otherwise, you just get the basic information from them. So, save money by not being so lazy, dial the number yourself, and they can't charge you for it, and you're not violating any rules.
And you're not going to get tax spam.
And you're not gonna get tagged as spam.
Also, they don't like it, they'll tell you, either they won't answer the phone, or they'll send you a text message, say, don't call me.
No.
I will say speed matters on expires. There are agents that do that. So the earlier you can do it in the morning, the better.
Yeah, Steve Lamont from Elevate Real Estate gets up at 7 o'clock in the morning and starts calling.
The best expires I've
Every
seen,
day.
call them before they leave in the morning to drop with the kids or go to work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just that one.
And people asked him, all the agents in the room gasped when he said that. And they were like, I would be pissed if you called me. And he said, that's probably because you don't have a job. The people that are owning the homes that I'm trying to sell, they have jobs. And they're up at that time.
Yeah, and they're like,
They're getting ready for work.
I'm pissed at
And
my
that's when
agent,
they
my
have
house
a
isn't
job.
selling, and I gotta go to work, and we gotta figure this out, right? At the same time. And you just call them and say, hey, I'd love to meet with you, I'm professional. Here's what I do, have you seen the list of what I do? Great, let's meet after you get home.
I think it's really key too. You'll notice at the very, does it say on here? It doesn't. I want you guys to focus on setting appointments. You're not having an hour-long conversation with someone. You're not telling them why their home didn't sell. You're asking these questions, which leads you to an appointment. And at that appointment is when you will unleash your expertise for them, so that you can go back and do research. There's nothing worse than getting on the phone with the seller and giving them bad
Yeah,
information.
don't research the property before you do the call.
Just call and set an appointment.
Do not do that. Just call and set the.
I actually do that with all of my leads. I'll give them a snippet of information that can help them understand that I'm the expert they need to meet with. But if a buyer reaches out to me and said, I'm really interested in buying, I say, awesome, we should meet. I don't get bedrooms and baths. I don't send them to a lender. I don't do any of that. We
That we
need
meet.
to meet. Because if they meet with me, there's a 75% chance that they're only going to meet me. And I am going to be their agent of choice. And then wherever I send them to, I have control over that.
Okay?
Where do you guys meet, like in the house or?
Right here.
If they have a listing, if this is a listing, you want to meet them at the
Oh, if
home.
it's a listing, I meet them at the house, yes.
So if they're selling a home, you want to meet them at the home, right? Because I can't really give you any kind of expertise on your property unless I've seen your property. Because what the pictures look like when you bought it is definitely not what.
And I have people say, my house is wonderful, and I walk in, I'm like, oh, right, right, you know, like, let me put this price down 30,000, right? You know, like, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, the house is wonderful. I'm like, ugh. You know, and I have people like, the house is okay, and it's like immaculate, right? You
Exactly.
know, so you can't rely on the sellers a lot of time to be accurate about the house. They're going to bias it.
Also, what's big to you is small to another. I had clients that I was showing property in Roseville in a very nice neighborhood in Roseville, and one of the lawns was not green enough, and they said this neighborhood is trash. And that's not for me to decide, nor is it for me to judge. But if I would have walked into that appointment or with them to that showing and said, isn't this house beautiful? Isn't this a wonderful neighborhood? What do they think about me now? That I'm trash? Trash.
That's your
Yeah.
dead grass.
That's dead grass. So your opinion does not matter.
No.
It's their opinion that matters the most.
Yeah, they're the one making investments, so yeah.
Even
So-
with your
Their
sellers,
money.
even with your sellers, their opinion matters more than yours.
Financial hardship, the only people you're going to find are in your database. That's primarily where you're going to find people in financial hardship. Talk to them. Also, you can go find things like when they do notice of defaults. They're in default, going into foreclosure, they're going to file something called a notice of default. The bank will file it. It's public record when they file. There are services like Property Radar and other services that will track default, notice of defaults. Okay? If you want to do that, that's another conversation. And I find people tend to like those conversations because it's a really helpful conversation. By the time that people get into a notice of default, the people are actually pretty scared and they usually stick their head in the sand. And they have no one to help them. And so you got to be very sympathetic to those conversations. You got to be like, there's no obligation. I'm just here. I can give you options. They like options. I can get you options to get the equity out of your house and get cash and still, so that you can move on to that next house, right? Rent that next house with cash in hand, and then you won't get this. And if we do this sooner, it's less damage to your credit, right? So usually the people that get to this level in our market is a realtor hasn't got to them. So.
You can repair credit though.
What?
You can repair credit.
A foreclosure
Yeah, I know.
is hard to repair, and it
Yes.
takes several years before you.
If you get a notice of default, it's gonna.
Well, then that's
Seven years.
different. If you have a credit card or
Seven.
something, you don't have to file bankruptcy. If you have a minor credit problem with a credit card or something, you can fix that.
It's easy, but having a notice of default on your
That's a
credit,
different world.
Yeah.
you're gonna have mortgage rates and a notice of default on credit is gonna be pretty bad.
A notice of default means that you're most likely 90 days to 180
Yeah.
at this point. So that's, your credit is trapped, is demolished. If you get a foreclosure on top of that, you're not going to be buying another.
I
home.
find these are not, even though you could probably get a phone number, the property rater will try to pay phone number. I find these people are less likely to answer the phone and talk because they have shame around this. right?
Well, they probably get a creditor's phone.
Yeah, so they're less likely to do it. So I found people have more success when they knock this door.
And
And I did this for a while. I would literally put a card, my business card, and I attached a little note, like a Post-it note, so it looked like I was just like a neighborhood guy. I just say, hey, I'm your neighborhood realtor. I noticed there was a notice of default filed on your property, and I'm just here to help you give you options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free of charge.
It's like pre-foreclosures and things like that.
Yeah, and that's what I did. And a lot of times, actually, they were so head in the sand, like, half the time I walked in, they're like, we don't even know. They call me and say, we're in
That's-
default.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that's one of my scripts is that I
They don't
say,
even know it.
hi, I wanted to let you know, did you know that there was a notice of default that was filed on? And I do that because it releases them from shame.
Yeah.
Because now they can say, oh, no.
And even if they say no and you know they're lying, that's okay. You need to let them live that
Yeah.
and then get around that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay, because they're just hiding shame, and I say, okay, I'm so glad that I got, I want to help you. Are you getting a lot of phone calls at this time? Is your phone being blown up? I can help you with that.
Yeah.
Leave this message on your phone. Put your number on the do not call list.
Yeah.
Save my number in your phone, and if you need any help with this, you can get
There
it.
you go. Yeah.
Yes.
You want to
save
become,
my
you
number.
want to become the source of information. I can stop, I can work with the creditor. We can get that, we can get them stopping, right? Do we, all those things. Like,
What kind of success do you guys see with voicemails? Because I've been getting like good numbers, solid numbers when I've been calling pre-foreclosures. But I've also been told not to leave a voicemail because they won't call you back.
Don't leave a voicemail that gives everything away. So I like to leave a voicemail that says, hey, it's Amy, give me a call back.
yeah, that's what I like to do. If I text, I'd be like, hey,
I never do that.
Hey, this is Amy. And then I'll text them after and say, hey.
yeah, I just do, hey, ... If you want to know the best text that someone goes to you, the best text response is, hey, ...
Yeah.
And they're like, I ask, who's this? The last one, that was like, this is John. Oh, yeah, I was supposed to call you back. Huh? Yeah.
There's a realtor in Arizona. We were all talking about different, when a lead ghosts us, what do we say? And he says, do you hate me? And I laughed. And I said, don't joke around right now. We're trying to be serious. He said, I am serious. I am serious. And they answer me. Because I'm playing on their emotion.
Yeah.
Do you hate me? Did I?
I've often
mess
done
up?
things like, I say, is everything okay?
Yeah.
I've often like, question mark, exclamation point, right? Because then it's like, man, if you didn't call me back, something must have happened, right?
Yeah.
Like, did you get COVID? Was there a
Are
death
you
in the family,
alive?
right? Are you alive, right? And then they're like, oh no, I'm okay, right? What she's saying, play on their emotion, but go to them. What it gives them is freedom that you're not mad about them not calling you back. You're giving
Yes.
permission for them to just, that they're busy and that's okay,
It's
right?
almost like you're saying, did I mess up?
Yeah.
Did I do something? Did
I thought we
drop the
talked
ball?
well. Did I mess up, right?
Yeah. I'll say, did I drop the ball on you? Because you're not answering my calls now, so I feel like I just.
If you do probate, I recommend you get specialized training in probate. It's a whole different animal. Like Leon does it in our office and a few others. It's a whole different animal.
Is it worth though to do probate?
You're going to have to get very knowledgeable on it. You're going to have to, they produce probate filings and you'll want to mail on that. Also, you're going to want to lead generate to attorneys.
Yes.
The best way to get probates is from attorneys. Most of the attorneys will refer out their probate issues. So you want to target all the probate. And it's hard times because a lot of agents do that. So you're going to have to get in there, right? So.
Yeah, but I want to talk about, Leon broke into the probate industry last year. Last year. And he did exactly what he needed to do, what they told him to do. He took the course and he got certified in probate and then he started sending letters. Did he get it the first month? No. Second month? No. He sent letters out consistently and still does to this day. And then he sent a letter to attorneys, met an attorney, met with her, started developing that relationship. This is not a flash in the pan type of thing. If you want business right now, go through an open house. Go call an expired, call it for sale by owner. Probates, those type of businesses, you have to do over long term. So should it be your only lead generation lever? Absolutely not. But those are great supplemental long-term levers like a farm.
The good part about death, probate, it's like a universal selling. It happens consistently all the time. No matter what the market is, it always happens. So if you want, John, I just wish I had something that worked in every market.
Yeah.
Perfect. Other than your database, it's the most consistent.
In fact, attorneys in general are some of the best people for you to get into business with and for you to market to. And that's because attorneys are found in many different times of life.
You know why attorneys are the best? Because they're talking to families in trouble.
Yeah.
Not just that, when a will is updated because an heir just was added to the family. They're also talking in times of marriage. People just got
Divorce.
married. They're getting a prenup.
Yeah.
Well, now they're gonna get married. What's gonna happen after they get married? Do you think they're gonna buy a home? Most likely.
And attorneys are always good game to get referrals. I love it.
Absolutely.
And then we talked about this with jumbo rates, right? Move up jumbo sellers, right? We know the market's soft. You get great deals. If someone, they may have a 2.75 rate, but heck, if I can get a 4 and buy my dream home
And,
and get a great deal on it, let's make that happen, right?
and jumbo is 675,000 and up. You were right. That's a jumbo loan.
So that's a sell
So if
high.
they have a 550 house and they want to get into another bedroom and it's 650, they could probably get a lower rate than what they would if they bought in the 550.
And if they take the amount of money they have equity in their home and put it in there, it's still not going to be a huge hit on the payment, right? So
And jumbo loans can have a 10% or less down payment.
I've seen fine.
There you go. 5% down.
Okay. Pick one strategy for listings. What you guys, write down one that you guys like, that interests you. We talked about them here. Right? Which one interests you? Those online. Which one interests you?
We've got expires for sell by owners, financial hardships.
Personal hardships, divorce, job that can transfer, probate. Which one do you like? If you're doing financial hardships, you need to be looking at your personal hardships, financial hardships. You need to be looking at your sphere, talking to people, and you also need to be probably doing something on defaults, right? All right,
What would like fixer uppers fall under?
fixer-uppers, they want to sell because it's a fixer-upper.
Yeah, like
The house is falling apart.
Dilapidated homes.
yeah, like
Rent-
landlords that have like crappy houses and they're just tired of it.
That's more investors. So. I'm gonna say, if you want investor listings, you got to be targeting investors.
You have to work directly with them.
Yeah. Like,
They're
and
also-
most
they're
investors
also
that have that,
willing
they
to
already have
discount.
an agent relationship generally. So you're gonna have to get in with the investors. So I'd say target investors directly. But that's a different world.
Hold
You know,
open homes in those dilapidated.
yeah, that's what I.
Reach
If
out
you
to
want
them.
to do that, a great would be an open house if you can find a vacant or one side vacant duplex. You'll get more investors. You'll get
Absolutely.
investors. So think multifamily, think junk property, think those kind of open houses, right?
It's all about meeting your client in the market that they're interested in, right? So investors are looking for fixers, they're looking for multi-units. So if that's what you're looking to work with.
Yeah, if you're looking to buy and hold and you want a decent return in Sacramento, you're gonna have to go multifamily. Make that return work, or if you want a good return. Right?
So call all the listing agents that have duplexes in, that have one
Yeah,
side
you
vacant.
can pull up
go
and
open one of them.
all of the ones, and then go through the showing instructions, the ones that say go vacant,
Call them and ask.
that's what you call it, right? I want to do open house. All right? Cool, beans? Clear as mud? All right. All right,
Well, let's go back, because there's some questions there regarding your exercise. So pick the one strategy that you want, and then I
Yeah.
want you to ask yourself some questions. What do you need to do with your database to find motivated sellers?
call, text,
Oh my gosh.
email. Wow,
Oh my gosh.
remarkable things.
Who'd have
And you
thought
know
that?
what? We have this program called 36 Touch. It's actually in command.
I think that it can get really,
Complicated.
no, it's not that. I got into real estate because I wanted freedom. Right? It's real. I got into real estate because I wanted freedom. I wanted to be my own boss. And when you're looking at something like this that says, I got to call people 4 times a year, it doesn't feel like freedom, does it? It feels like you're chained down. It feels like you've got a job now and you've got work to do. I haven't always called once a quarter. In my business, I've been in business for 8 years. I haven't always done that. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been the agent that has called once a year. It's better than nothing. No joke. It's better than nothing. I have a client that I call her once a year and her whole family sells homes to me. And now they're referring me out to other people they sell. I still only call them once a year because that's the relationship that we
And
have.
eventually you get to a team where my staff call. I said, we're calling on behalf of John.
And every time I call them, you know what they say? I don't even have to ask. Amy, if we know anybody that's looking to buy and sell real estate, we're going to send them to you.
Yeah, because they know. They're like, stop calling me.
I train them. I train them, right? So I understand that it can seem like a lot. Once you get into the habit of doing it, it doesn't.
Please. Most of you are going to say you have 100 people in your cell phone. 200 people. Max. More than that? Well, you've been an agent for a while.
Well, I'm old.
Yeah, divide 200 by 90.
What's 200 by 90? 1, 2 a day? One and a half a day? So literally,
You
you have to call 2 people in your cell phone a day. So that's when we say real estate is simple but not easy. It is simple. 2 people a day. The hard part is doing it every day.
That's where your work ethic comes in.
And so the only difference between you and me and where I am in real estate, where you are in real estate, is that I'm more consistent. That's all the difference. That's like 90% of the
Command
difference.
apps makes it easy. I've been using Command a lot lately.
Yeah.
Smart plan and just
Oh, I
forget.
love
You
it.
just forget it,
I
yeah.
literally just forget. Smart plan, good. Worry free now.
You know, I still do lead calls for my team, and you know what, I just put them on the thing, and I go into command and it says, you're supposed to call these 5 people today.
Yeah,
Bing,
fantastic.
bing, bing, bing. And most of our voicemails, hey, how's it going, missed ya? This is John, click,
Absolutely.
you know, like, that's all I do.
I got sent a voicemail for like 3 years with this lady. I sold her a home. 3 years later, she calls me and says, I know I always send you a voicemail. I appreciate how much you followed up with me. I'm ready to list my home.
Yeah. Literally, it doesn't matter, it's the attempt that matters.
Absolutely. It's the thought that counts, right? You're thinking of them.
I actually have a question, because in our meeting with our team, we're kind of discussing Command, and I know that Bobby and Afton aren't fully implemented with Command. Is there a class coming up that's thorough on Command Smart Plans? That would be great, I could tell them about.
We just had a tech for teams.
Yeah, you should be Tech for Teams, Tech for Teams, actually,
Oh, okay.
it came in yesterday, and I had,
We had our meeting yesterday.
yeah, if you notice,
We need
We
to-
If you
have
notice,
another one.
my whole team was in here, Parm's team was in here, Tomas and John's team, Eternity was in here. Because we brought Zach, our regional tech trainer, in for that because we service the teams. Because we know the teams are going to do it at a high level. They want to know how we integrate, how we do this, how we do this.
I was using a spreadsheet for a while, but then I put all of it into the Command, and I had our virtual assistant, because I had a call date on all my spreadsheet contacts, and I told the virtual assistant, throw it in Command, put a task for that date,
Yeah.
and then when it pops up, I'll add a smart plan.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing is I'll just wait until the next task for that
Yeah.
person,
I
add a smart plan and forget.
Yeah, I have a something called 555, which is it
Yeah.
automatically texts them and automatically emails them and then asks them to call once.
Yeah.
And so I just put them on that. And every time when I started, I just called 5 people, put them on the plan, and I know 1 quarter later it's going to ask me, it's going to text them one time, it's going to email, and then the quarter later it's going to say, call them again.
On my smart
Beautiful. And I
plan,
just go in there, okay, call. Oh, yeah, okay.
I added social media to mine. So I have their social media link inside of their profile on Command, and I just click on it and I scroll through and I like, comment. And that's part of my smart plan. So I'm hitting them on social media. They're getting an automatic text. They're getting an email from me. I'm calling them on their birthday, calling them on their home anniversary. And I'm not prospecting the whole time. I'm like, hi, happy birthday. Sometimes I'll sing a happy birthday and send it to them. I know that's kind of bold, but it works. They love it. I do. I'm like, happy birthday. They love it.
So I just want you to think about this. If you're not on top of your database, the one strategy you should be writing down is, I'm going to get on top of my database.
Absolutely.
Remember, NAR stats last year, 78% of sellers, how'd they find their people? How'd they find their listing agents? Was either they knew the agent, their sphere, or they were referred by a friend or family to that agent.
Yeah, I mean,
From that's literally 80% of the listings
Across
that
the
nation that are listed and sold happen off of a sphere or referral. So if you say, John, I need more listings, they're in your phone.
What's funny is 80% of those sellers ended up probably listing with the 20% of agents that exist.
Yeah, that's
So it's
literally
like
what it
that
is.
rule.
That's literally, you could put that stat, right?
What was it? 80 something percent of sellers said that they would have used their previous agent, and only 12% of them do because their agent didn't love them. How could they forget me? I'm calling them every quarter,
I had this,
or I'm calling even once a year. How could they forget?
I had this team, and during the REO time, they had a lot of listings. They had 157. They would call the buyers that bought their listing.
Heck yeah.
They call them their orphans. And as soon as they bought the home, they would start marketing to them like they're their debt, like they were their clients.
Absolutely. I have a list
And
that I've
they
already-
would convert like 70% of them because the original agent didn't follow. In fact, by the time they came around to sell again or buy, they mixed up in their head. They thought that listing agent was their agent when they bought the home. That's how much it changed.
It's about mind share.
It's about mind
It's
share.
about getting in front of them on a consistent basis. We see car commercials all the time. Are we buying cars all the time? No. But it plants the seed. And when the time comes that we need to buy a car, where do we go? The deepest planted seed.
Yeah.
Right? The one that we see the most.
All right. You got to find buyers. Right? Buyers are gold now. If you find someone motivated, pre-approved, wants to buy a home, is that pretty easy? Yeah, you could probably negotiate credits and all that stuff, right? So who are the motivated buyers? Where can I find them in the market? Where are these buyers? I know there's people still buying, right? We know 25% are gone, but 75% are still buying. Who are they? Do you have buyers that gave up in the last market? Maybe it's time to give them a call.
Not only that, but now that the market has softened and we have more inventory, are you seeing that houses are getting less offers? You can pre-negotiate an interest rate buy down.
That's what I would do. If they're like, I don't like the rates. I was like, if I can get your rate to 4, would you buy that house? Would you buy a house? They're like, yeah. And I go in and says, I need a 13,000 credit to buy the rate down to 4, the seller.
Yeah.
Buy this house.
Call your lender.
And if they're sitting on the market for 60 days, you think they're gonna give me a 13,000 credit? Sure, here.
You're gonna do it all day. Call your lenders and find out from your buyers,
Where you
how
can
much
get the
would it
rate,
be for me to get a 1% rate reduction, a 2% rate reduction? How much money is that gonna cost? I can guarantee it's gonna be around 10 to 15,000. And then you can go to the houses that have been on the market for a while, or not even then. Sellers already know, this is baked in. Agents are already telling their sellers, if we can't get it off the market in 2 weeks, we're gonna do a buy down rate credit, and we're gonna advertise that, and we're gonna get your home sold that way. Just play on that.
Yeah, so give options to your buyers. Open houses. Luke, I know you're doing a lot of open houses. Didn't you say it went from like 20 people to 6 people? Right?
I think it was, what was it? April, I did an open house in the Pocket area, 3 days, did lots of flyers. And honestly, I didn't even do that much signs for that one. Had 61 groups in 3 days.
All right, awesome, right? And now?
It's like maybe, 2 days, Saturday, Sunday, open house, maybe like 15 people.
Okay.
Welcome to
That's
my real
good.
estate world.
That's good. That's a good one.
Good.
Right? That's a good one now. Who is looking at open houses now?
The actual motivated buyers.
The actual motivated buyers, right? The ones that are gonna be like, I'm scared, it's 100 degrees outside, mortgage rates are 5.5%. Are we gonna go, let's go have fun and look at open houses? No, because they're gonna be like, that's a house we can't buy. That's a house we don't wanna buy, right? The ones that are looking are actually motivated. Yeah, well, you guys may be used to the 20 groups coming through, but actually I like this market better because I don't have to figure out who's actually motivated. It's the ones that actually come.
And you have more time to talk to.
Yeah, you'll have more time to create rapport, right? So this is a time, if you want to, double down on open houses. Like, we have a whole list of open houses you can hold up anytime you want. I would do one every freaking day.
Absolutely. And this list of open houses that we have they been sitting on the market for a little bit? You seen the list? Do you think that's a problem?
Not
Be
for
honest.
us, more
No, I
so-
want to hear it because they're not getting filled. So who thinks that's a problem?
Not a problem for us, because we can still use that to advertise ourselves.
Right? John was holding open houses in the same house for months. I had a listing that was on Winding Way. I don't know if you guys know what Winding Way is. It's a very popular street.
Yeah.
And I had a listing that was right off of Winding Way, and I put out all my signs. The house was $60,000 to $70,000 over ask. or over what it should have been in the market, and I was happy as a clam. I got so many buyers off of that summer, and I wasn't even worried about talking to the seller about a rate drop or price reduction.
Thelma, you did a listing that was overpriced and took a while to drop on the market for a long time. Davis.
Yeah, but that wasn't overpriced, that was just a bad time.
Okay, bad time.
But
But how many buyers did you get out of that? You opened house to
I'm
house?
still working with the buyers that I got.
Right, that open house you did religiously, like all the time, right?
I did it every weekend, 2 times for the whole time. And
Or how long?
4 months,
And you're still working with buyers?
yes.
And how long ago was that?
That was in 2000, it was right before COVID, 2019.
Same market we're in right now. I think that's really key too. One thing is that your sellers were probably really demanding, right?
Not really.
That's what
They
my
were-
sellers
they
were
live in
doing.
Hawaii, so
My sellers were demanding that I hold open houses every weekend.
I was demanding.
Awesome.
And I thought, at the time, oh my God, I got to hold open houses. They want me to drop the price. And then I started doing it and I was like, wait a minute. This is actually fantastic.
In fact, I wouldn't even change open. I would find one that's in a high traffic I can get a lot of exposure, and I would do that every frickin' day, 4 to 7, 4 to 7, 4 to 7 on weekends, Saturday, weekend, Sunday. And guess what you're gonna do? You're gonna get listings. You're gonna get everybody on that. Everyone in that neighborhood knows you. They will know you.
And I got like
And I would say, flyer drop that neighborhood.
4 listings.
And then one time, then 2 weeks later, flyer drop that neighborhood. You know, and then people are gonna be like, I need this guy. This guy is crazy. He will sell any house, right? Yeah. And then when it's sold, I'd be like, I sold it.
They throw you a party.
Exactly. Internet lead generation sources, we'll talk about social media. This is also a way to be the economist of choice, right? When I talk about getting those C types, right? Finding people who maybe are interested, they'll message you if they're having financial issues.
Man, my social media has been such a big source of business for me. I remember when I got into this business and my coach told me that I was wasting my time and that I needed to get off of social media and start living in the real world. And to this day, I just got a buyer lead the other day from social media because I have their thing in my database and I go on their social media and I interact with them. And then I post. And I don't post listings. You guys will barely ever see me post listings. Do you see me post listings? What do I post about? What you're doing. What I'm doing. What classes I'm taking. I post a Keller Williams sign. I take a picture of me putting a star on a Christmas tree with a Keller Williams in the background and I posted it. Because it's about showing them your life and getting to know them better. I had a seller call me from a neighborhood. I sold the neighbor's house. She said, I've been stalking you on social media for the last month and I like you. So I want you to sell my home. I was like, can I get more of that? I just talked to Laura Miller, and Laura Miller has the same thing happen to her. They're watching. They're looking.
But you gotta come, make it a story, don't make it salesy. Make it a conversation.
Absolutely.
That's why I said, if you take one of those stats images and put the comments in, it's more trying to be helpful. Hey, you're hearing a lot of crazy stuff out there on the news right now. I just want to let you know the Sacramento market is just fine.
If I post
Right.
a just sold, then I tell the story. If I post a listing that's gone on the market, I tell the story. Right? So you got to be good at telling the story. There's plenty of agents that are doing social media at a high level. Just rip off and duplicate. Copy what they're doing. Don't reinvent the wheel. Put your spin on it.
Buyer investor seminars, you can do this, especially on the investment side.
Diana Nash has been doing buyer seminars for the last year, right?
Maybe a year, not my
A year in
next one.
October. She does them once a quarter. Now we have other agents that have seen her success and are now hosting other buyer seminars. It's fantastic. One of ours, Nada hosted an investment seminar.
She got 2 listings.
And she got 2 listings from it.
Residential listings from an investor seminar. All right. How to find them? Remember your database, open houses. You need to talk about level 7 open houses. If you're going to do internet lead generation, we have Realtor.com here. Those are those kind of sources. They're going to have to be super. Those are grinding type of internet lead generation. Like even on the Realtor.com, if you grind, you're going to get 1 out of 7. If you don't grind, you're going to get 1 out of 10, 1 out of 12.
You're not calling right.
What?
It's bad.
I'll show you the stats. It's not that bad.
I'm good, no calls.
I'll show you the stats. It's not that bad. social media be the constant choice, or show what you're doing, buyer investor seminars, savvy investors, no shifts in market. Like I told you, I'm buying that property, I'm taking a 6.5% rate on that purchase on my investment. I don't care. I'm gonna rehab it, get my equity, and then when the market drops, I'll rehab.
I want to go back to the internet lead, and he talked about you got to be quick on the draw. I want you to take that kind of perspective with all leads. So I hear about agents throwing open houses over the weekend, and they're not calling their leads until Wednesday, Thursday. Those leads are gone. You have effectively lost them by that time, because if they went to your open house on Saturday morning, where else do you think they went? Right? So I send a video text as soon as they leave the door. As soon as they leave the door, I have pre-recorded a video. I'm not standing there making a video. I've pre-recorded a video, and it goes out to everybody that gives me the number. As soon as they leave, I want them to have my face and something about me and my phone number when they leave. Yeah.
Is it a link to the video, or
No,
are
it's a video.
you sending the video to
I'm
their
sending a
smartphone?
video to their smartphone.
Texting.
30-second. Can I text it to
Can
you?
you text it to me?
Yes, I'll text you. It's really simple. It's really simple. It's, hey, thank you so much for showing up to my open house today. I'm really excited to start working with you. I'll follow up with you soon. That's literally all I say. And I'm assuming that they're going to work with me. And I'm telling them that I'm going to reach out to them soon. And then I do, of course. And the next contact is me setting an appointment with them.
If Monday is not your most busiest lead generation day, you're not houses problem. Well, when you're either not doing open houses, then you're not doing open house follow-up problem. Mondays used to be hectic because I have to do all the open house sign-ins plus my other calls. Actually, I changed to where I did no calls on Monday except for open house.
That's what I
That's
do.
even
Yeah,
rough.
exactly.
That's even rough. I feel
Yeah.
like Monday can be too late. If they went to other open houses that day and someone gets to them before you and does a buyer consultation or takes to see a property, you're done. So it's like that after the open house. I call after the open house. Let me follow up immediately so that way I'm in their face.
Well, see, I'm just aggressive, so they're not leaving my open. If they want to buy a home, they're not leaving an open house without me.
I love it.
So.
And you used to, the other thing, I did the exact same thing. I didn't book anything after my open houses.
Yeah, I don't book anything.
When it was 3 o'clock, I wasn't getting out of there to go to dinner. I was sitting there cleaning up, doing my thing, but calling people, sending those messages, working. I was also available for showings.
I've considered it a failed open house if I didn't have showing scheduled with the buyer that showed up at that open house after the open house. Literally, I say I get up at 3, I'm going to be done with my signs at 4, we'll be at the house.
Yeah.
That
house
was my
do you
goal.
want to go see next? And
My
can-
best one ever is I did an open house from 12 to 3. I said, here, we're going to go showing. I want to see this house. He's like, yeah, I want to see it. I said, greatest available somewhere. And I said, oh, are you pre-approved? He's like, no, I'm not pre-approved, but I want to buy. So I said, why don't we meet at our office instead? I got my lender here. They pre-approved. We were pre-approved by 6:30. I showed the home at 7. We offered at 7:30. We're accepted by 9. Of an open house, right? So speed to lead.
Speed to lead.
Speed to lead.
Speed to lead.
You know why buyers liked myself? Because I was fast. You want to buy? I have a sense of urgency. They like that. Sense of urgency and energy will go a long way.
I had a similar story. A guy came into the open house, had an agent, but from LA.
Yeah.
Knew like,
Yeah.
hey, there's a possibility I can get in there.
Yeah.
Maybe do a referral.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I went on a showing right after the open house. I got connected with his agent. I told him I just straight up told him like, hey, like she's like heck of far away.
Yeah.
Maybe talk to her, you know, do a referral.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
We already closed the book.
Motivated. Okay. Sorry.
Remember that when I did freelance?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So we'll have more advanced trainings on these, but if you want to do investors, social media definitely, internet lead generation. I used to do a lot of internet lead generation. You got to be super well scripted. I would hold people. You probably have 5 seconds before they're moving on. So I learned to add value real quick. Right? So those scripts are need to work on, but you can definitely make those work. But savvy investors, database, seminar investors, meetups, open houses on Victors or multifamily are going to get you in front of those clients. So if you like that investor, if you like math and you can crunch numbers, investors are your route. If you don't like math and math scares you, probably not go that route. Okay. What do you need to do database? Oh, what strategy do you like on the buyer side? Which one do you guys like?
Open house.
Open house. And the good part is we have 30 listings you can open house, right? Dave?
So many deals.
I do 4 to 7, 4 to 7, 4 to 7, 4 to 7. Love to see every. Would you not get listings if you did the same open house for 2 weeks straight?
You would.
Would you not get listings in the neighborhood? I guarantee it. Well, unless you're just not doing anything in it. But if you actually tried, you would get listings, trust me.
You'd be surprised.
One thing you need to do is reduce expenses. You're probably trying to do that on your personal side, right? I recommend you do about a 10 to 20% reduction in your business costs if you can. Try to find it. Cancel your card and let people call you.
I like to do that a lot. That's like my
Heck,
method.
you know what? This is how bad it is. Literally, the office. Keller, 1 second. We have a debit card. I am canceling the debit card August 1st just so I can run this drill on the office. That's how
How many
seriously I take this.
subscriptions? How many subscriptions do you automatically have coming out of your account?
If you went to Apple, you can see the list. You know?
I do. I go in there and I check because sometimes I get a free trial and I don't cancel. Right? But it's not only that, it's looking at how you're spending.
And look at other things. Are there things you're doing like open houses that you can co-brand the flyers that you're dropping with the lender? Cut costs, right? So think about ways you want to reduce your expenses.
Do you know what the cheapest lead generation source is? In fact, it's free. Your Sphere. You already paid for your cell phone. You already put people's phone numbers in it.
Okay. I want to press on guys. My team, I pay a guy in the Philippines to make calls. That's salary. I have 2 staff. And they're tasked to lead generate and make databases. We have a quota for the amount of open houses our team does. We spend an inordinate amount of time lead generating. Make sense? Money and time. I have internet lead sources that my ISA calls to. We have Mojo and we download Expires because of all this stuff. From all that outside lead generation techniques, what do you think of percentage of sales came from all those outside of my total sales? 25%. 75% of my sales came from my Sphere. Even when I'm spending all that money and effort, it's only to bring more people into my database. My database is still, by far, the #1 source of business in my house. And it's the easiest and cheapest to do. It's like I said, if there's something on the list and you don't have your database under control, your first thing should be database.
I have internet leads out the wazoo. Not calling. Not getting hold of them. You think I'm getting leads from that? No. I'm not developing any relationships with them.
If you have 0 business right now, then I know you're not calling.
My point is that he's adding them to his Sphere. Did you hear that? These internet leads are not doing business with him on the first phone.
Literally, I have statistics on how much my Sphere and business will produce, and I know every person I add. That means, how do I want to get to 100 transactions? Well, if 6% of my database gives me a lead, gives me a transaction, just grow my database until the total is 100.
That's 600, yeah.
Just grow to a total of that. It's literally that simple. And then what does that mean? I have to meet a lot of people. He said, why do I pay an ISA? Well, I want them to set appointments, but more importantly, I just want them to put people in my pipeline. I don't care if they're a year away. I don't care if they're 5 years away. I don't care if they're 3 years away. I just want them in my pipeline. Because if I work them enough, they're going to give me referrals. They're going to love me. And they may not even buy or sell a home.
Yeah, there's people in my database that I call on a regular basis and they've never bought a home through me.
Some of my best referral people have never even bought or sold a home. Yeah.
Their family has. Their friends have. I'm still working on them.
Okay. You should be reconciling your business account once a month. You should be producing a P&L. Anyone know what P&L is? Okay,
Profit
good.
loss.
Yeah.
And balance sheet, we will, oh, Connie, we'll have financial trainings on how we do on that.
If you need a financial tracker for your real estate deals that will turn your income and expenses into a P&L, you can email me and ask me for it. I think I already provided it to you. Do you use it?
Me?
No.
I haven't used it yet. I've opened it and I've looked at it, but I haven't.
My email is amyt@kw.com.
Things you should not cut, coaching. If there's any time you need training and coaching, it's this market. Skill-based training, lead generation searches that have good ROI. If you're paying for leads right now, I want you to look back over your closings and see if any of your closings came from those leads. And you add up to how much money you spent on that in the last 12 months and how much money you got back. And if it's not like a 6-to-1 ratio, you probably should be cutting it. Probably should be cutting it.
If
That's
you're
something
being
else.
marketed to for marketing purposes, like you're gonna buy into school binders, you're buy into golf course scorecards or anything like that, I want you to ask them if they can give you referrals to agents who have used their services and gotten business from it.
Right,
And I can tell you there's none. So.
There's none, so
Don't
it's
do it.
not a good buy.
no.
I don't care if they say, all it's gonna take is one deal for you to pay for this.
It's funny, because I recruit, so I see all our competitors' agents' production. Then I see them at the grocery store, Safeway on Divider, or I'm like, man, they just spend a whole bunch of money, and I know they don't make much production, so it just cracks me up. So, okay, one thing I want to exercise off the top of your head right now, I want you to write 1 to 2 business expenses and 1 to 2 personal expenses that you're going to get rid of right now. And I know it's in your head. I know you can think of something right now. I know you know.
It's so funny, I just did this. I have orthodontics for my daughter, right? And I'm go ahead and do your exercise and listen. I'm calling around to eliminate expenses. I'm doing this. And I call them and I'm like, I need to know, I'm about to take my daughter's braces off her mouth. Like, she don't need them anymore, her teeth are straight. So I'm calling the dentist to find out how much do I owe on this balance and what do we do? And they're like, you just made your last payment. And I was like, that's beautiful. So the universe cut my expenses for me.
That's beautiful.
You know what I did though? You know what I liked about it? I said, well, that's weird because I thought that it was going to take a while longer to pay it off. They're like, well, Amy, you decided to double up your payments. When I got into that, I decided to double up my payments.
And you forgot.
And I completely forgot about it because at the time business was good. And I completely forgot about it. And I was like, thank you, past Amy.
So everyone have 1 or 2 business and personal expenses you're willing to cut right now?
I didn't do a business expense, but rather I'm not tracking my miles. So that.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, maybe it's finding a deduction, right? Yeah, maybe it's finding, if you're doing open houses a lot, you should be tracking your miles, right? And showing homes a lot, yeah.
That's a huge.
That is
That is a big one, that's a big deduction, yeah. That's a big deduction, track that.
That was a.
What do you, how do you guys? I want to know
Is
how you
it?
guys
I do
track
a
miles.
standard deduction for mileage. I don't.
I do like. in the
You don't
year,
track
I track it at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year, you know what I mean? And we do
I just take a
flat.
standard deduction.
What do you do?
I've been doing it the same amount. I know how many miles I put on my car every year.
So I just do a formula, I track at the beginning, track at the end, and I assume like 75% is business.
That's what I do.
They allow you to do that without having.
If you get audited, you'll get screwed,
Right.
but trust me, you're so small fry, you're not.
Yeah, with the standard,
It's not
that's,
gonna happen.
they're okay with.
But if you start hitting $1 million in income, then you might get audited, so just, you know,
Yeah, once I hit $1 million in income, I'm not gonna.
you got, yeah, if you start saying the same number of miles every year and you're doing $100 million, you're gonna get audited.
Yeah.
But just be that. And also, you can forego miles and you can actually just take direct car expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I do. I take a car
You know,
expense.
that's a lot more
deduction.
work.
Oh,
Expensive.
okay, so the cost of
You
gas.
get a better deal than you can by.
Yeah, actually, what I do, well, when I was a realtor, I used to take a percentage, but now, since I'm in leadership, I don't do that many drive, don't do that much. So now I
You get a
take actual
deduction
car
when you buy
expenses.
the car.
Yeah, 'cause you can do that.
And you can, it's really easy for
So like I bought a
my
car.
tax guy because I have a P&L. and it's all tracked. So when I go to my tax guy, it's like, here's my car tax, right? Okay.
Even
It
if
makes
you
it
get a loan.
easier,
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna need to explain that one.
What?
If you buy a car, even if you get a loan, you can deduct the cost of the vehicle if it reaches certain.
You can get
Criteria.
a standard deduction, and you can get a
6,000 pounds you can.
but there's also another deduction you can take. If it's a luxury, there's a special tax deduction you can get on that one over the regular deduction.
And if your car weighs over a certain amount, you can get a
6,000.
deduction for that
6,000
too.
pounds, but that's considered a work vehicle. And if you Google it, there's certain cars that are designed to.
That's why everybody
weigh
bought
by like a
Hummers.
few pounds.
Well, yeah.
If you lease a car, you can put
Yeah.
it under your company.
Yeah. And it rolled
And
by
deduct the
12.
whole thing.
Or if you have two cars, you can do one at 100 and one at, what, 70?
Even if it's a used
50,
vehicle?
over 50%,
I assumed a lease, and it's on my.
it's over
So
50%.
the key here is get a CPA. You should not be doing your taxes on your own.
I do.
But in the end, you should have 1 to 2 expenses you know you're willing to cut.
Then should do an escort, because I think I'm getting ready for that.
Call the CPA and they'll let you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it unless you're, measure your expenses as you need to pay your bills every month. Grocery shopping, whatever that nut is. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, whatever it is, right? Mortgage payment, all that stuff. Now assume you're gonna pay yourself a salary plus taxes deduction that's gonna equal that amount. So I need 3,000, I probably need to pay myself 4,000 because I got the deductions, right? To make that work. Say you need 5,000, you're probably gonna have to have 6,500 after tax, employer taxes. Get that. Could you afford a $6,500 salary to your house every month in your business? If you say no, then I would not recommend setting that. Because the real value of tax advantage in an S corp is that you're able to pay yourself a salary. That's a real tax. That's where you can get the mega tax advantages. If you can't do that, then you're going to miss. You're only going to get like half the tax advantage, and it becomes. It's not worth it, right? It's not worth it because you're going to have to pay an extra tax return. You're going to have to talk to a tax preparer to file another tax return. You're going to have to pay other taxes. There's going to be costs to maintaining that.
And it's cost to form it too. And my CPA had to yell at me for me because I was like, I ain't paying that money. That's silly. And then she showed me what my taxes would have been if I had incorporated, and then what my taxes were, and it was about half. But I had to get to a point of making almost over 6 figures before she.
It's going to be 80 to 100,000 in income before I'd recommend you start talking about it.
What about LLC?
Same thing.
There's no real tax benefits for CPA.
Yeah, correct. So.
It's
So,
a protected.
if you're a single member LLC, here's what happens. Yeah, essentially, what you're trying to avoid right now, if you don't have a corporation, you're getting what we call self-employment tax.
Social Security.
That means, yeah, it's to pay for your Social Security, Medicare, and all that stuff because you're not paying it out of your normal, right? So the government says, if you made $50,000 this year net, they're going to tax you on $50,000 on your normal tax brackets, and then they're going to tack on another 15% to pay for your Social Security, Medicare.
Yep.
That sucks.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
So you want to get away from that as soon as possible. The only way you can get away from that is by paying yourself a salary, and then it's deducted, just like those of you who had W-2 jobs, you paid your tax. The government actually gets 15%, just like they charged you on the self-employment. They actually get 15%. But when you pay yourself a wage, actually, when any employer pays your wage, the employer pays half of that. They pay 7.5% of it,
Yeah.
and you pay 7.5%. Makes sense. But when the corporation pays it, if it's your corporation, because you pay 7.5%, but guess what? The corporation pays 7.5% of the taxes. Now it's deductible because it's a corporate expense to have an employee.
That's 7.5%.
The 7.5%.
Corporation
So what
pays-
you save automatically if you go to a corporation to pay yourself a wage is you're automatically cutting that self tax in half
Yeah.
because now half of it's deductible. You still have to pay the whole thing, but now half of it's as a deduction on your business. Okay? When you can, in the corporation, you can do what we call disbursements. Now, here's the best part. when you disperse money, ideally what you want to do is have a business that's robust enough to where you can pay yourself a salary and still have extra money accumulating left over. That means I have enough money to pay my bills and do my life, and I'm still making more money than that in my account. My real estate company is growing. And at the end of the year, I'm going to take a disbursement because, man, it was a good year. I have an extra 75,000 in there. I'm going to take 50 and leave 25 in for next year, but I'm going to take 50 right now. Take a disbursement. I took my salary the whole year and I saw extra. I take a disbursement. When I take that disbursement in, that is because it's an S corp. It's considered, if you have stock, it's considered like a dividend, and it's not taxed like income. It's taxed like an investment.
Right.
Better rate.
And you get a better rate.
Right.
So you get paid at the capital gains rate instead of your income rate, which is like usually about a 10 to 15% difference.
At least.
At least. So you're getting paid, you're paying taxes on that disbursement, that 50,000 at a lesser rate than, it's not counted in your income, it's counted as like a rental. Or you bought a stock, right? And you're getting the dividend, right? It's taxed like that. The cool part is, in the last tax reform, if you made less than 300,000, 20% of that disbursement is not even taxed. It's like, he's like, oh. So why an LLC won't work, and I don't recommend it for, well, you can do it, don't get me wrong. I don't recommend it for real estate agents is because an LLC is just a pass-through entity.
Yeah.
So if you're just a single member LLC, you're still going to be subject to self-employment tax. That means the money that comes into that you don't even file a tax return for that entity. It goes straight to your personal account, and you still got the 50% self. And I've helped some people have opened LLCs. They're like, John, I messed up, and I said, then if you do an LLC, then you have the option within, I think, the first 4 months to have it taxed as an S corp. It's still an LLC, but you can opt with the federal government to have it taxed as an S corp. I would recommend you do that if you accidentally have an LLC, because that way you can set up the payroll provisions I talked about and take that disbursement. Now, a lot of people are like, John, why don't I just take disbursements instead of payroll, and then I get all this lower tax, right? The government says no.
Is there a limit to the amount of disbursement?
There's no limit to the amount of service, but it's got to be a reasonable balance between. So if you took a $2,000 salary and then took $400,000 at the end of the year as disbursement, the IRS is going to red flag an audit and says you didn't balance it, right?
And this is why a CPA is so important.
Correct.
Because I work with her directly, and she,
She'll tell you
John's
what.
financial situation is different than mine.
Yeah.
John runs his business different than mine. My CPA runs my payroll at the end of the year. I
Yeah.
don't pay myself a salary because I'm a building right now, and I don't want to pay myself a salary. So she's going to run my payroll at the end of the year. She's going to tell me how much I need to take as a disbursement based off of payroll, and then I'm going to take that money if I want to, or I just have to pay taxes on it. Does that make sense?
Correct. Yeah, you could do
So,
that.
but all my money stays in my businesses. I don't take a salary anymore, and that's important to know.
Well, you can, but they need to take a salary.
So when you say run your payroll at the end of the year, do you mean like act as though when you had a salary payment?
So for example, to take advantage of it, I'm in a situation where I need to get as many tax deductions as I can, right? So I told you about the disbursement and doing, where you get lesser tax. But oftentimes I found at the end of the year, it's better for me to take my excess money and just pay me a bonus. And it's subject to the employer tax because I get the 7.5% deduction, but it's such a big amount.
Yeah.
It's a huge deduction. That's all for my business. So it helps me more to take the deduction than even take it as a disbursement, right? So like we said, it's
See how much nuance is in that?
so there is
That's very
you got to work with your CPA because a lot of things, but you see, we're playing around with this money. You only can play around when you're trying to get around 6 figures where you can pay yourself a salary and have money left over. Like, so. Time to go. Okay. Any ahas?
Let's have a CPA come in and teach a class.
I would love that.
That would be so awesome.
Yeah, that would be great.
Spotlight vendor.
We'll get it. Part of the shift series. Any other ahas?
I need to track miles.
Okay, so there's an app on your phone. I think you all should get it. It's called QuickBooks Self-Employed. it is going to be an expense. It's okay, you get to write it off. It's gonna automatically track your miles when you get into, whenever you get into your vehicle.
Just make sure you have the app on.
Yeah, it's always on. It tracks as soon as you start moving around. You're gonna get,
For a while.
no, speed. It goes based
Well,
on
I need
It
it.
goes based
She's
on-
gonna walk very fast, okay?
Are you gonna walk at 38? Bam, Zelda?
Exercise is right now.
It's like the app when you walk.
Oh, yeah.
Automatically on, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
it's called QuickBooks Self-Employed. Not only that, but you can attach it to your business account, which you all should have a separate business account. Attach it to your business account, and it will track all of your expenses, and you can say whether it's business or personal. I just put it all, I just had a separate account, separate card, everything. I would just give that report to my CPA at the end of the year. It was the most amazing thing ever, and it told me how much I was earning. And for a while there, I wasn't paying attention, and then I looked at it, I was like, oh, I need to do some things here, right? So it tracks what you're spending, what you're really spending, because you putting it into a spreadsheet, sorry guys, is probably not as accurate as it would be if someone was tracking your debit card. How many times you stopped at that gas station, not just getting gas, getting a red, right? So there's things in place that can make it automated for you that would be really easy to do.
Trust me, if you get the numbers on your business, the numbers will tell you. I could look at your P&L. You could show me your P&L of your business, and I'll tell you exactly what's wrong. I said what you're doing good and what you're doing. I can tell us that. Because your numbers don't lie. And if you are constantly looking at your P&L, it won't lie, and you'll know it, and you know where you're messing up. And you'll hold yourself for account.
Clarity is power.
There it is now.
Clarity is power. Knowing where your business sits, knowing your numbers, tracking your numbers.
Right.
I'm even in a new position right now where I have to lead generate for agents, and I wasn't tracking my numbers. And in my mind, I was working real hard.
In reality, not
In
so much.
reality, I was working hard. I was not getting the results. It doesn't matter how hard you work if you're not coming up with any results at the end of the day. This is a results business. And so so now I track my numbers. I track my numbers every day. Even when I don't hit my mark. I work with integrity and I say, I didn't hit my mark today. And that's okay. You need to live in that pain. Eventually, you won't want to be that person anymore, and you'll step into action.
And you'll say, I choose not to be that person.
Absolutely.
And you'll do the action that's necessary.
But if you're not tracking and you're living in the reality, the story you're telling yourself about how hard you're working, and you're not seeing any results, it's because you're not tracking.
All right, any two more ahas from today's class? This is a contribution.
Same thing you said before, if you don't do a lot of lead generating, you're not gonna have anything.
Yeah, you know that, right? You know
Yeah,
that, Bill?
you said that, and, yeah,
You know that. Someone else.
Know the
Yeah.
trends.
Know the
Know
trends.
the trends.
yeah.
Know the trends. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, everyone.
Thank
We
you so
appreciate your
much.
time. We'll get a CPA in here. Next Wednesday, as part of our shift series, we're not in lieu of the team meeting, we have Ryan Lundquist coming in. He's doing his big presentation on what's happening in the market. Kind of like the trends we talked about. He's going to look at the trends and tell you what you should be saying to your clients and what's happening. Right?
Real estate appraiser, if you don't already.
So I highly recommend, we're doing a shift series next Wednesday, 11 o'clock, Ryan Lundquist, okay? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone online.
Thank you.